In silence in the audience and at the dais. We will begin in approximately 20 seconds.
I don't think the microphone.
Good morning. Please maintain silence. We will begin momentarily. Please remember to silence your cell phones. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner NURIT KATZ.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
President KATZ. Vice President MCGRAW.
Present.
Commissioner PINDER.
Present.
5 board members. A quorum is present. Mr. President.
Thank you. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting of the DWP Commission. I want to also acknowledge it's a busy week in a lot of ways. It is, yesterday was Earth Day. It also was the start of Passover. It is Earth Week, the whole week. And of course, part of our charge here at DWP now is to make sure that Earth Day and Earth Week are something that we acknowledge and work on 365 days a year, not just one day or 1 week here or there. And the commission and the leadership and the men and women of DWP are committed to doing that. So with that, we'll go into, this is going to be a little different today because we're going to go into executive session shortly we have a personnel matter to deal with that's probably the worst kept secret in the world. But we're going to still go ahead and deal with it as if it is a secret, so at least for a little bit longer. I do want to, by the way, item 4 and item 16 are being pulled from today's agenda. And I think there may be a couple items before we get through it, but wanted to point those two out to you to start. And what I'd like to do is recess this hearing for closed session, executive session, which is for commissioners only, in the room behind us. And we will report out of there when we're done. If you'll excuse us, we will go take care of some business and be back shortly.
President KATZ, the board shall recess into closed session to discuss the agenda item M9. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention thereon of every member present in accordance with California Government Code 54957.1. Board is recessed into closed session.
we go.
Mr. President?
Can you take the roll again? Or?
Sure. All 5 commissioners are present. The time is 10:23. I would like to report out on closed session. In closed session, the Board of Water and Power Commissioners have appointed Ms. Janice Quinones to the position of Chief Executive Officer and General Manager of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, subject to City Council approval. The details can be found in the supporting board package attachments for April 23rd, 2024 board meeting agenda, items L17 and L18 at ladwp.com. Mr. President?
Thank you. Thank you, Shantae. I'm looking forward to working with Janice Quinones, who you will meet in a second, when she officially joins LADWP as CEO and General Manager. Her impressive background as a seasoned California utility executive, engineer, commander of the U.S. Coast Guard Reserves at District 11, emergency preparedness liaison officer, makes her a great pick by Mayor Karen Bass to lead LADWP forward as we work towards our clean and equitable energy future, modernizing our infrastructure and building a resilient water future and serving all of our customers. I want to thank Mayor Bass and the entire search committee for their tireless dedication and the commitment to finding the next leader of the largest municipal utility in the United States. I know that they worked really hard to find a leader with vision, experience, and expertise to guide LADWP through the next chapter of our growth. I also want to acknowledge key stakeholders who have expressed their support for our incoming GM, including the Sierra Club, the Smart Electric Power Alliance, Heal the Bay, Climate Resolve, the LA Clean Tech Incubator, and many more. Janice is very well regarded by many throughout the state, and I'm glad that she has their confidence, just like the mayor. She has their confidence and trust, just like the mayor and this board. I'm excited to see Ms. Quinones build upon the strong foundation and direction established by our retiring chief engineer and general manager, Marty Adams, to even greater heights. I know both have the vision and the passion and spirit expressed in their own unique styles. I'm sure to keep LADWP moving forward and navigate the opportunities and challenges ahead. Marty, I know you've been so generous of your time, postponing your retirement to see us through this period of transition. I'm sure you're excited that retirement is finally imminent after 4 decades. After 4 decades, the White House is just as excited as they're ready for you to be 100% available to the Infrastructure Advisory Task Force. You'll be a remarkable representation of civil service commitment and dedication, and at the national level. And boy, what a great feather in your cap. Not that you really need any. Feathers would look interesting on Marty, but no, that you needed any to add to all the things you've accomplished to this date. I want to thank you for staying dedicated and committed all the way through this transition. And so with that, I'd like to introduce everyone to our designee as CEO and General Manager, again pending City Council approval. Janice Quinones. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Just want to welcome you formally. You know, it's a step along the way, as they say. It's a process. But the step from here goes to the City Council on the 14th of May, I believe. And we're looking forward to you moving in here with us on a permanent basis. And if you want to just say any comments, but you know, we have great expectations for this collaboration with the mayor, with you, with our Board of Commissioners, and with all of the men and women at LADWP, that it will mean great things for the city and great things for our future in a cleaner and more sustainable way. So with that, Janice.
Thank you, President KATZ. I'm humble and honored for the nomination by Mayor KATZ. I'm really encouraged by the support that I've received from the commission so far and the council members. It's been a journey, like you said, since we started, but one that I'm very excited to be part of. I think the department has so many great things going for themselves and a lot of new challenges that we need to tackle with the support and collaboration, like you said, collaboration being key with key stakeholders in the community and others in the industry. So I'm really looking forward to this challenge and new role and being part of the family.
Well, welcome. Thank you for signing up and for not changing your mind during the process. No, we greatly appreciate it and look forward to great things. And again, like as you said, also collaboration is what is the key, and we're looking forward to that and your leadership. So
Thank you.
lots of luck, and I know you have some meetings down the street that you have to get to. So thank you for coming by, and looking forward to making this happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope she doesn't get used to board meetings being like this. I grew up Catholic, and this is like going to church on Christmas or Easter. Everyone's here.
Last time I saw you was
Yeah, exactly.
Temple's not a whole lot different, I'll tell you. All right. As we get back on the agenda, two other comments I was going to make beforehand. One is also want to acknowledge Administrative Professional Day, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, Wednesday the 24th. Thanking all of the admin folks who work at LADWP and throughout the city. Earth Day we mentioned already. Also, too, I would like to get a report back at the next meeting on the charging program we're doing in conjunction with Metro. I want to see where we are on that, make sure we're meeting our milestones, meeting the targets, and that charging program is going to be key for their bus programs and meeting the Olympics, and I want to just make sure that we're on top of it, as I know you are already, but would like a report back to the board so we can cement that mission and make sure it's getting done, because
We have a report for the board to present on where we are on the status of the requests that we have so far, and then the future requests. And we also have a point person that is going to be responsible for processing all those projects, through our system. So we will present to the board the details and what the future holds on this.
great. Thank you. On that, anything else on that? Yes, ma'am.
When you finish, I want to let them know some of the community events.
Go on.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As a new commissioner, relatively new now, I have had the opportunity to participate in two of the long-standing community projects that DWP does in the community. And the one that I just went to last Saturday, I'm just going to hold this up. This is our classic flyer. It's English one side, Spanish the other side, and it says, "Do you need help with your LADWP electric bills? We're here to help." Now, in this particular case, DWP staffed 2 tables with probably 6 to 10 of its staff persons at the Ward Villas. Ward Villas are located on Adams at Hoover. It's a senior citizen complex, a very lovely place. It has many programs over the years. So this past Saturday from 9 to 1, our staff was there, and I was honored to be there as well. And they had senior citizens who'd signed up. In fact, I hope all the people who signed up did not come, because it was a very long list. And while I was there, these various individuals came in with their ID and, of course, with their dreaded bill. And many of them were walking with canes, and I was afraid they might swing those canes if they didn't get the right answers. So I kept my distance from them after they sat down with our staff. But it was a wonderful experience, and I learned now why my husband is angry with me. The thing that raises your bills, particularly in the winters, are those space heaters. I did not know it. I would often leave one on upstairs and let it run all day because I didn't go back upstairs. So I have learned how to cut my own bill. But this particular service is very important because whenever I say to anyone, rich or with modest means, I'm on this board, the first things they say is, can you help with my bill? So we want to be very mindful of that, and I'm very honored that our DWP and its vast staff makes a point every weekend somewhere. There's one of these programs going on, trying to help people understand how to cut their bills. And they, like I said, in any language, we can have someone there, and I was honored to be there. And then 2 weeks, a week before that, on the 14th, the Los Angeles Sentinel, the largest African-American newspaper, probably in the United States, but certainly west of the Mississippi, had its annual program where it honored several people. It had 44 sponsors, and DWP, along with labor unions, Wells Fargo, Metropolitan, Southern Cal Edison, California Teachers Association, we were a sponsor. And we were also fortunate to have our own page in the program. And I do want to take the time to read the names of the persons on this page. We'll wait.
Sorry about that.
In addition to myself, there is LaTanya Bogan Jordan, who is our Director of Partnership, Development, and Strategic Engagement. Renette Anderson, Director of Equal Employment Opportunity Services. Our own Shantae Mitchell, Executive Secretary, Board of the DWP Commissioners. Aditra Barnett, Director, Employee Relations and Benefit. Katanya Carson, Assistant Director, Customer Accessibility, and Edith Williams, Director of the Supply Chain Services. And this was it's a great picture to have because the whole point of the Sentinel's program this year was honoring the power of Black women. Now, DWP involves itself across this city with every ethnicity and every group. And I'm just honored to have participated in 2 programs since I saw you last. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for doing that, and thank you for being present at those and representing the commission and the department. We all appreciate that, so thank you. Other commissioners' comments? Going down the agenda. Public comment.
Public comment is now open at this time. Good morning, speakers. Please be mindful that you will have 2 minutes to address the board. We have a total of 7 speakers. The first speaker is Michael Anderson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Anderson. I'm with Anderson Barker Architects. I'm reaching out to you to request support to consider relocating the 9-acre LA DWP pole yard at Slauson and Miramonte Avenue to a location 6 blocks away, owned by Union Pacific Railroad. I've been in discussions with Union Pacific Railroad for over the last year, and on April 11th, they contacted me to issue the concept through their portal so that they could work it through their infrastructure. They requested a letter of interest from LADWP and interest in the concept of the relocation. This is purely conceptual and carries no obligations, but allows them to start to apply the resources to consider relocating this in the site. This project is part of the Accelerated Housing and Transit Development Project, which aims to modernize underserved communities around metro transit stations. The U.S. Department of Transportation expressed interest in funding this project and underwriting its funding through transportation bonds. LADWP, being a part of Infrastructure LA, aims to align public works projects to strengthen funding applications in marginalized communities. With the business strategy, with my background in the business public-private partnerships, I developed Accelerated Housing and Transit Development as a series of business strategies to use infrastructure investments for community modernization around the transit stations. We are seeking your support to expedite obtaining a letter of interest in this project. This is a narrative of the project with a sample letter to the Senior Vice President of Union Pacific Railroads, and I'm asking for your assistance and guidance. In this, it's been about 34 years since Metro has opened a station next to the site, and the relocation of it will enable the development of the site. That's my request. I have a leave behind for you as well, if you need further information. And
I appreciate that.
do I give this to someone?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, I have a couple extra copies. If it's okay.
and we'll make sure that it gets to the right people and that someone gets in contact with you.
Okay.
The next speaker is Jong H. Lee.
Good morning. My name is Steve Lee. I'm representing my father here, Jong Lee. He suffered recently from a head trauma requiring brain surgery. So I'll read from pre-drafted statements that he wrote. So, honorable members of the board, please help me survive from this financial disaster from homeless crisis in Los Angeles. 2 months ago, on February 14th at 5 a.m., the Rampart Fire Department called to inform me that homeless vagrants had started a fire in a trash dumpster area that burned down the adjacent metering board at the shopping center that I own. DWP then had to immediately cut electricity service to the entire property, and the tenants and customers at the shopping center did not have power for 3 days. To provide emergency power, I had to hire the Sunbelt Generator Company at a cost of $81,000 every month, and it will take over a year to receive new switchboards from the factory because they are back-ordered. Imagine how much the cost will add up. To fix this situation, DWP wants me to move the switchboards to a different location, which I agree with, for the safety of my tenants and customers. However, the bigger issue for me is that the DWP has ordered to move a perfectly functioning transformer to a different location because it was built under old city code. The transformers were not damaged in the fire and worked just fine, but this move will add an additional 18 months with extensive concrete excavation and permitting, which will put me at extreme financial difficulty, which I cannot sustain. As a loyal resident and business owner of Los Angeles for over 40 years and a victim of the recent homeless crisis spreading through Los Angeles, I ask you to please help me keep this perfectly functioning transformer as is. It had nothing to do with the fire damage that I sustained. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We have your contact information.
I believe not.
Okay.
Can you meet with Emil? Where are you? Can you meet with him outside and get the information?
Sure.
Thank you for
Thank you.
bringing that to our attention.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Thank you.
The next speaker is John Garside.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Before I begin, I'd just like to submit to the record a letter that was delivered to Mayor Bass's office late last month on behalf of Mono Lake Committee and a local coalition of environmental CBOs. My name is John Garside. I'm the Policy Director for Crop Swap LA. We are an urban farming nonprofit based in South Los Angeles, dedicated to food equity and using water sustainably. I read recently that reservoirs are full, 70%. We've captured 30 billion gallons of water since fall with all the rain. Very well done. It seems like the perfect opportunity to not divert any more water from Mono Lake beyond the 4,000 acre feet that are allocated this year. The rebate programs that agency offers are very popular, though I would say still underutilized. A lot of residents in our service area don't know they can get discount for water barrels and cisterns, things of that nature. Would love to see more CBO partnerships, applying for grants to do more outreach and more local conservation efforts. But yeah, read after ask. It's such an ecologically sensitive area up there. We partner with local Title I schools to send students on field trips. The Mono Lake Committee is a great organization, and I think it would be a very strong commitment on this Earth Month, passing Earth Day, if the agency would publicly and voluntarily commit to not diverting more water. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These letters.
The next speaker is Reverend Walter Contreras.
Yeah, my name is Reverend Walter Contreras. I am a faith organizer, root organizer for CLU, and I also represent California for Smarter Sustainability. CASS, which is a coalition of thousands of California residents, business, and community-based organizations that focus on ensuring California's policymaking balance economic prosperity and quality of life alongside environmental protection. We are deeply concerned about the increase in state and local policies that are well-intentioned but have unintended consequences that are often detrimental to the lives of most vulnerable Californians. We support the protection of California environment, and we are focused on finding smart solutions to sustainability challenges and balancing economic, social, and environmental and outcomes for all Californians. My hope is that you will use, and are deeply using your moral authority on figuring out how do we come to terms to these realities that must be defined, must be accepted, and we must do the right thing. So I will leave here 3 positions that we are working on and hoping that, number 1, that we reveal the California water instruction. I will leave the words in here so you can pass it on to everybody, is our position because of time. The second one is packing bans and restrictions, and we're hoping that you allow time for California's nation-leading recycling law to be fully implemented before pursuing new waste reduction policy. And the last one is sustainable fuel and transportation policy. And we must support practical vehicle fuel standards that balance our state emission goals and developmental opportunities and economic uncertainty felt by households across the state. This includes utilizing all available technologies to reduce fossil fuel-based emissions. I will leave this with you all so that you can get more details on what are our priorities. Thank you very much, and you are in our prayers as you make the right decisions.
Thank you for being here and for your testimony and the materials. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Roxanne Waz.
Hi, good morning. My name is Roxy Rivas, and I'm here representing Pacoima Beautiful in regards to the management of Mono Lake. In 1994, the city of Los Angeles made a historic promise to the people of California, agreeing to allow Mono Lake to rise to the protection level of 6,392 feet above sea level. This commitment has been something that we have been sharing with our students and our families whenever we take Mono Lake trips up and visit the area. Our work is around environmental justice and really trying to create a voice for the communities who have been underinvested for many years. And part of our goal with doing these trips is, one, to open outdoor access to our families, but also educate them on the history of where our water comes from. And for us, we want to highlight that this year we've been really lucky, actually, for the past 2 years to have extreme wet years, resulting in high snowpack levels. And in light of this, I urge LEDWP to refrain from increasing diversion from Mono Lake this year. The current annual diversion of 4,000 acre-feet should be maintained, and there is no need for additional instruction. For us, as a nonprofit, we really urge LEDWP to work with CBOs like ours to identify areas where there could be some level of local conservation or storage projects, like the one that you guys are currently investing in the Northeast Valley. Projects like that are things that we want to see, and we hope that you can work with us and other CBOs like us to engage and secure state funding as well as local funding for those types of projects, and continue to push and work with us to educate our families and our communities around where our water comes from and why conservation is so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Daniel Gold.
Thank you. Members of the LEDWP Board of Commissioners, LEDWP employees, and members of the general public, good morning. My name is Danny Gold. I'm a native Angelino and the founder and president of Green Water and Power, a Los Angeles-based installer of electric vehicle chargers. We've built approximately 6,000 chargers across 6 states for multifamily, residential housing, hotels, fleets, and many other end-use applications. We're headquartered in Van Nuys and have approximately 70 Los Angeles-based employees. I was in this room in November of 2019 when I appeared in front of the board to bring to your attention the challenges we experienced with the Charge Up LA EV charger rebate program. The main challenge I shared at the time was the slow speed at which we were receiving the rebate funds for work we completed. It was pretty painful, in some cases taking nearly 12 months to receive payment. Earlier this year, I would have characterized the time it takes for us to receive a rebate payment as commercially reasonable. However, recently we've seen inconsistent timelines for payment that threatens to endanger all the progress previously made. I want to urge the board to provide the EV rebates team with the necessary resources to accomplish DWP and the City of Los Angeles's goals and return to the progress that was shown earlier this year. I also want to applaud LADWP for its efforts as a leader in supporting the acceleration and adoption of electric vehicles throughout its service territory. I would specifically like to thank Portia Bell, Carol Tsing, and the EV service design team, Greg Sarvis, Donna Hayes, DeChrista Johnson, Erica Washington, Linda Urbina, and the rest of the EV rebates team for all their hard work and efforts achieving the program's success. Additionally, I want to share our experiences participating in infrastructure programs around the country, as many see LADWP as the gold standard. We would agree and applaud the General Manager, Board of Commissioners, and DWP staff charged with administering the rebate program on their achievements and accomplishments. We want to encourage DWP to continue to invest in the program and continue to meet and exceed the gold standard that the EV rebate programs have set so far. However, that is not to say there are areas where we're still experiencing challenges. Specifically, one is DC fast charger segment of the rebate program. The progress toward the installation of fast chargers in DWP's service territory has several challenges. One, the rising cost of installation. Two, meeting a newish requirement for simultaneous output power requirements.
Excuse me, Mr. Gold, your time has expired.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Gold, may I ask you a question before you go?
Sure.
You talked about rebate speed previously being a year and then inching towards something more commercially viable. What was the amount of days that were more commercially viable?
I think typically the terms net 30, net 60, net 90, right? A month, 2 months, 3 months. So that's. So
you were seeing rebates for a while. You were seeing rebates within a 90-day window.
For a short time, yes.
For a short time. How long ago was that?
Earlier this year. So first quarter.
First quarter of 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And since then, you've seen us backslide a little bit beyond 90 days.
Correct.
But not to a full year.
Couldn't say that at this point.
Well,
yeah.
of course, it's too early. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
Sure. I just want to also add, and I appreciate the time, I know that there's an agenda item 13. I just want to add our support for the board to vote in favor of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Connor Everts.
As high as it goes. Connor Everts, Southern California Watershed Alliance, the Environmental Justice Coalition for Water. I was here to congratulate the new general manager. It's great to see a new board as well. I already said goodbye to Marty's last time. So I concur with all the comments made about Mono Lake, but I want to make it a little personal. I was on this last year with 100 people, took water out of the reflecting pool, put it in test tubes, taped it to our bicycle frames. 6 days later, returned it in the names of the community-based organizations that had saved water so successfully in LA. That had a huge impact on us and our contacts with people that we made along the way. It was 12,500 feet of total climb across the Mojave Desert in Labor Day. The temperature, the surface temperature, the asphalt was 140 degrees. And I think it was one of the most life-changing things I did. I do water conservation work, so I'm experienced on what it takes to get it done. I know it's not easy, but with the partnership that LADWP did so successfully with the community-based organizations, we provided rate relief and economic development. And I think in the time that has gone by, the life cycle cost and of materials and products have improved. They're more expensive, but they do a much better job. The low-flow toilets, all the other devices that we installed, it's time to do it again. That's all I wanted to say. I think I'm going to miss start of the trout fishing season on Saturday in the Eastern Sierra. I always say I'm going to go, but this year there's actually a lot of snow and ice, so let the water flow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Connor.
The next speaker is the last speaker, Ryan De Flaro.
Good morning, members of Board of Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today regarding item 13. My name is Ryan DeFlavio. I am Vice President of Sales Operations at Chargy. Chargy is a leading provider of electric vehicle charging infrastructure based here in Los Angeles. We've been installing stations since 2017 and partnering with LEDWP for over 6 years now, bringing critical rebate-funded infrastructure to communities throughout Los Angeles. A crucial part of our mission is bringing accessible and equitable EV charging to all. So we firmly believe this is a key to easing consumers' transition to electric vehicles and making a true impact in the fight against climate change. We're proud to have installed over 15,000 charging stations across more than 1,000 properties, with another 3,000 charging stations in the pipeline, hoping to get funded in the future. Many of these projects are in underserved communities, and many were made possible by funding provided by LEDWP programs. Recently, Chargy presented some recommendations to LEDWP on ways to increase the number of chargers that can be installed in multifamily properties, including those located in disadvantaged communities. We also offered suggestions on how to use funding to ensure the chargers are not just installed, but reliably maintained for years to come, as there's many studies out there that show a lot of chargers don't work. We look forward to continuing these discussions and helping find ways for the program to align with some of the findings from the LA 100 Equity Strategy Report. So to that end, Chargy would like to confirm its support for the increase in funding for electric transportation customer rebate programs that's on the agenda. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Public comment is now closed at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you, Shante. We will now move into the General Manager reports.
Thank you, President KATZ, and good morning, Commissioners. Have quite a few things to mention, so I'll try to get to it quickly so to keep the board meeting going with a number of things that are important for the board and the public to know about. First, though, I will hand it over to Anselmo Collins to give us an update on the water system, as well as report back on we were just in London at the Global Water Summit last week, at which time we did receive a Global Project of the Year award, and also joined with 69 other utilities that are part of the leading utilities of the world group, representatives from around the world who are both an inspiration in what they are accomplishing and also amazingly share some of the exact same challenges that we have here in Los Angeles, as long as creative solutions for some of those. So, Anselmo.
Thank you, Marty. Good morning, Commissioners. And Anselmo Collins. As the General Manager mentioned last week, we participated in the Global Water Summit in London, England. And during that summit, I had an opportunity to participate in a panel discussion on delivering global targets for water reuse. But at the same time, we participated in a award ceremony where one of our programs, the San Fernando Groundwater Basin Remediation Program, was up for Water Project of the Year. And I'm happy to report that we actually received a distinction award for our program. And this is the award that was handed over to us. The reason why this is significant is because this is an international award. So they're looking at projects from the entire world. There's over 80 countries that participate in this summit, and some of the water projects they're doing are very innovative. So I'm very proud of the work that my staff has done and of being innovative when it comes to improving the groundwater quality in the San Fernando Valley, as well as our partners that are the consultants and the contractor. In this case is Kiewit and Stantec, which are the two agencies that are working with us in this program. So I just wanted to share this with the board, that it was awarded to the Department of Water and Power, and it's for the Water Project of the Year for 2024. And our general manager was able to be there to receive this award. So this is, I think, a very important award for us. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Anselmo. I'd like to turn over to Simon to give us an update on some things happening in the power system.
Thank you, Marty. Good morning, Commissioners. Simon Zodu. I have a few updates for Power System. Just last week, Power System submitted 5 applications as part of the Grid Reliability and Innovation Partnership funding for Department of Energy. 5 applications amounting to $3 billion of grants that we applied for. Majority of them are for transmission projects, and the rest are for energy storage related projects. The results will be released around the July and August timeframe, and we'll come back and report on those results. Second is first of its kind. Power System will launch what we call a distribution system assessment. This is to really test the readiness of our distribution system as part of our energy transition in anticipation of the load growth that we would see from the electrification of the transportation and the building sectors. This time we will also include a stakeholder process so that community members and our large customers will have contribute to the assessment process, and we'll come back and report as soon as that assessment is done. Third, again, an area of an energy transition. We are really revamping our what we call an interconnection process for renewable energy development throughout the Western United States. As a transmission provider, we do have a process in place. The current process is a very serialized process where we actually study individual interconnection requests that come to LADWP. In about 2 months, we will be coming to the board for approval of an amendment to our process where we can significantly accelerate our process using a cluster approach so that we can, developers can submit multiple projects at the same time, and we'll do the studies in a cluster format. This is a new thing for LADWP, and we believe that this is going to be a significantly increase on how fast we do the interconnection studies. This would be an amendment to our open access transmission tariff, and we have made this public to all stakeholders late last week. Fourth item is collaboration. For the last 4 months, we have put out an RFP for transmission-related projects that we can collaborate on, seeking collaboration from the private industry as well as other utilities. We have received quite a few proposals. We are evaluating them at this point, and we plan to come back to the board for your consideration to see some of the collaboration projects that we can. Again, this is help us in increasing the integration of renewables and speeding up the renewable portfolio standards that we'd like to meet at 80% by 2030. Last but not least, LADWP and IBEW Local 18 will be hosting LADWP's Lineman Rodeo on May 18th. This is a great activity we are very proud of. We are inviting utilities from Western United States and Canada to come and join us on a friendly competition to show your job skills. It's a very family-friendly environment, and we're looking forward to that, and would like to extend our invitation to all board members.
Where is that being conducted?
It's going to be at the training center in the Valley, Truesdale.
Is that the one up in Sylmar, or?
Truesdale.
It's next to Valley Generating Station.
Yes.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. We'll provide information on that. That concludes
Thank you,
my
Simon.
remarks.
And I would certainly encourage the board. I regret that I missed the first few opportunities that I knew about the Lineman's Rodeo, and after that I haven't missed one. It's quite fascinating, and it'd be 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 people there from all over. And last time we were there, we actually had a number of students from Trade Tech who were studying to become linemen and approach us and be able to meet the managers and understand how to get involved with DWP, which is developing future workforce, which is one of the challenges we have. A few other items. So DWP, since 2021, has helped over 200,000 customers with their bills through utility assistance programs. So we, to this point, have administered the distribution of over $575 million in public assistance funds for past due water, power, and sewer bills. Most of these are federal funds made available through the state of California. There's been some other avenues we receive funds. But just recently, we were able to provide debt relief of $125 million additional that was allocated to us, and we were able to distribute that to 72,000 plus residential and commercial customer accounts. It's under the California Extended Water and Wastewater Arrearage Program, called the CWAP for short. And so that funding was sent to us from the State Water Resources Control Board, and it was using federal American Rescue Plan Act funds. So again, we were able to help another 72,000 customers with other bill arrearages that they had. The customers who received the funds, they got it as an automatic bill credit. Took place on April 13th and the 14th, and it was for water and wastewater, and that goes on the bill that goes to Bureau of Sanitation. And the customers are being notified about the credit on their bill through direct mail or email, depending on how we have their records on account. And so it was targeting, that was accumulated between middle of June 2021 and the end of December 2022. So this, again, will help a lot of our customers who continue to face financial hardships as they get back on their feet, coming from business and other losses from the pandemic.
Right, do we have a waiting list for more people on that?
Well, so we have a qualification. There are a number of people who are in arrearage, and most of the funds have been, early on, the funds from the federal government to the state were for broad categories of residential customers. The more recent ones have been for ones who are low income or underserved communities. So we believe this is the last large bucket of money that we would expect to receive. So we've distributed now, and I think we've done it in the people who are the most need. We have continued to expand our own programs to assist customers. One of the things we did was level bill pay. We extended our bill repayment program from where it was a number of months now up to 3 years to a payment plan. So we've added a lot of programs, and again, we continue to not do shutoffs of any low income or easy save qualifying customers. And so we are working with all of our customer base to try to help people get back on their feet, at the same time understanding that we do have some funds that we need to recover from those who can't pay, and we're starting that process through customer services. On Earth Day observances, we had a happy belated Earth Day. It was technically last 20th. We have been celebrating Earth Day all month by supporting local community events and educational outreach programs, including through our Adopt a School program, and by stewarding initiatives and projects that help get us toward a more sustainable future. Locally this past weekend, we participated in several community events. In partnership with KBLA, we took part in the kickoff for Climate Justice to promote our Powered by Equity initiative. The event brought community together for a neighborhood cleanup, and also to share ideas about how everybody can pitch in to make their own efforts to help save Los Angeles and our planet. The same morning, we also joined our neighbors at Gloria Molina Grand Park for their Earth Day themed Easy Mornings event, which offered art, culture, and educational programs along with a focus on community health. We also supported our community-based partner Scope by participating in their Earth Day event in South LA, and we had a presence at the Earth Day Art Fair in San Pedro. At each of the events, we had a booth and staff to share information on our customer programs, and especially those highlighting the importance of sustainability, clean energy, and water conservation. We also continued our customer support Saturday activities, opening up our Crenshaw, North Hills, and Watts customer service centers to provide customers who might have a difficult time with easy access to a customer rep outside of our normal business hours. As Commissioner Pinder mentioned, we had a pop-up customer support event at the Ward Villas, and we were really happy that she was able to participate alongside our staff at that event. In the Eastern Sierra, we participated in the annual Sierra celebration on Saturday, April 21st at Bishop City Park. We were also invited to 2 tribal celebrations with the Bishop Paiute tribe on Sunday. At each of these events, staff shared information with the community about our LADWP Eastern Sierra activities, and specifically in honor of Earth Day, our restoration efforts, which include growing native plants in our greenhouses that we use for our revegetation projects. And staff also passed out native plant seed bags and plant guides for folks at the events. We also attended the Owens Pupfish ceremony, where the endangered Owens pupfish were released into a newly established pupfish refuge within the tribe's conservation open space area. It was a project that we've been involved in collaboratively with the tribe and California Department of Fish and Wildlife and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for many years to make this happen. So we're proud to be a part of that event. The Earth Day celebrations aren't over yet. This coming Saturday, we have our open house, our annual open house at Chatsworth Nature Preserve. If you haven't been there, I know Commissioner Katz is it's a longtime favorite of yours, and we've taken, and Commissioner LEHRER have actually passed a motion to help us better protect that in the future and better manage that property that we are working on with local community groups. But that event will take place from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. At Chatsworth Reservoir, and it'll be it's always a great day. It's a very large property. We usually draw a crowd way in excess of 1,000 people, but it's a large reservoir, so it looks like nobody's there. So it's great. But I hope you have a chance to enjoy that. We're also joining the Lone Pine Shoshone Tribe on their 11th annual Earth Day event from 9 to 12:30 p.m. in the Eastern Sierra. And so with that, I'd like to just encourage everyone to try to take advantage of some event that's left to come. If you're in the Eastern Sierra, join us up there, or if you're here in Los Angeles, welcome, open to all the public at Chatsworth Reservoir this Saturday. On Wednesday, April 17th, we hosted our 9th annual Sustainability Awards, and the title, Electrifying LA's Public Transportation, panel discussion. Our Customer Service Division Key Account section leads this, and every year we hold this to recognize businesses, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies who we believe have achieved significant water and energy savings or installed electric vehicles at their and chargers at their facilities as a result of participating in our rebate programs. So we honored 19 of our largest customers for their achievements in energy efficiency, water conservation, transportation electrification, and demand response as a result of their efforts this last year. And so the actions of this year's winners in these areas will result in the reduction of about almost 4,700 tons of CO2 emissions. That's equivalent to about 1,100 gasoline-powered cars coming off the road for 1 year. Winners in the water conservation category took steps to reduce their annual water usage, in total estimated to be about 3.8 million gallons of annual water savings. And for transportation electrification, we had the winners installed a total of 440 level 2 chargers and 21 level 3 chargers last year. So that's another 461 chargers added to the grid to help us reach our goals. So I want to thank those customers for participating in the program and allowing us to recognize their efforts and continue to support them in their moves forward with their businesses. Tomorrow is annual Denim Day. Denim Day is an international day recognizing sexual violence prevention and education campaign that asks community members to make a social statement by wearing jeans on that day as a visible means to protest misconceptions that surround sexual violence and victim blaming. I'd like to hand it off to Greg Reed now to report a little more on that, as well as the upcoming Women's Career and Wellness Expo and our next Supplier Diversity Fair. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you, Marty. So tomorrow is April 24th is Denim Day. So LADWP joins with other organizations around the world to observe this important event, which aims to protest against attitudes and misconceptions about sexual assault and violence. So Denim Day is an international awareness campaign that affects both men and women. And this campaign started in 1999 when the Italian Supreme Court overturned a rape conviction due to the perpetrator appealing a sentence due to the victim wearing jeans and the misconception that the victim must have consented by helping the rapist remove her jeans. So following that ruling in 1999, the Italian parliament took a stand in solidarity with the victim by wearing denim in the court steps. Our California State Assembly also heard this and stood in solidarity with the Italian Parliament by demonstrating by wearing jeans in the Capitol in Sacramento. So this was the initial observance of Denim Day, and it continues to this year. So with that, our office, DEI, is supporting this event and asking our employees to wear denim tomorrow. We also will host a group photo opportunity in the A level of JFB at 10 a.m. And for those employees who may not be here in the building, to also send selfies wearing denim to the DEI events email address. So with that, we also have a link in our department announcement for our employees to also take the pledge against sexual violence. So with that, I appreciate the board's long-standing interest in the safety of our workforce and the entire leadership of the department being united around a workplace that is free of sexual violence, harassment, and other misconduct. So with that, we also have our Women's Expo event, which is coming up on May 4th. And that's a really exciting event which will uplift women in the workplace and all of the great career opportunities that we have for our community to become educated around and to increase the interest among our school-aged community members, as well as those who may be in our community colleges and just adults who are interested in considering other career paths. We currently have approximately 900 people registered for the event. We have exhibits and various features that will showcase our department equipment, the various career opportunities, both in the field and in our professional ranks, in the water side, as well as power and joint. And so you board members are invited to come out Saturday, May 4th. The event is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our Truesdale training facility in Sun Valley. We expect a large turnout for this really great event. Our next event is also in May, on May 9th, and it's supporting our supplier diversity efforts, also in recognition of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is the month of May. And so for that event, we are partnering with the Asian American Architects and Engineers Association to put on an event that showcases our contracting opportunity, which is the renovation of this building, to educate our business community around that procurement opportunity, and then also to have a panel discussion around the progressive design build processes to help raise awareness about that process among our business community. So with that, we'll also have networking and matchmaking with the prime contractors and with our various department power system, water system, and joint to share all of our contracting opportunities with the business community. So that'll be on May 9th from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. here in the building. You are also invited to join us in that very important supplier diversity event. With that, I do want to touch on our donors welfare campaign real briefly. So today is the kickoff of our donors welfare campaign, which runs from today, April 23rd, through Friday, May 31st. And this has been a 90-year program that allows for employees to donate and support our employees in their most vulnerable time of need. This donation program also supports 33 charitable organizations in our local community. And so we encourage all of our employees to support our donors welfare program. So with that, I'll hand it back to Marty.
Thank you, Greg. And I do hope on Saturday, May 4th, we're keeping all your Saturdays busy, I realize, but the Women's Welfare Fair and Expo, we had our first one last year. We had about 2,000 folks attend. Our 900 registration, we think, is just the scratch at the surface. It was tremendous, and a huge number of employees there. A lot of male employees bringing their young daughters to see what kind of things they do for work and what kind of possibilities they are. A lot of folks in the community, we brought school-age children in from all over Los Angeles, really talking about, opportunities and for jobs, women in non-traditional roles, the kind of, and exposing people to what we do for work. It was a great event, so I hope that you're able to join us for that. So lastly, and certainly, every bit as important as everything we've said so far. Tomorrow, April 24th, marks the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. And it's a solemn moment to commemorate the mass atrocities committed against the Armenian people from 1915 to 1923. It was on the evening of April 23rd, 1915, when authorities began rounding up Armenian leaders, intellectuals, and activists, basically those that they felt were capable of potentially leading a resistance. It became a precursor to the massacre of 1.5 million Armenians in a brutal campaign of violence and deportation. Families were torn apart, communities were decimated. And despite worldwide recognition of this as a historical fact, to this day, the Armenian genocide continues to be denied by too many people. This day holds significance not only for our fellow employees of Armenian descent, but for all of us, as it provides a poignant reminder of the consequences of intolerance, hatred, and denial. Something that Greg and the DEI office are working in every little and big facet to deal with, to make sure that our workplace is free of these and open and accessible and fair to everybody. April 24th should be remembered as an example of human perseverance and lessons we can draw from the past to create our own kindness and inclusion in the city of Los Angeles. Armenians have preserved the rich cultural heritage, which while contributing to the social, economic, and cultural fabric of their adopted homelands, including here in Southern California. LA is home to one of the largest Armenian communities outside of Armenia, with a vibrant presence that has enriched the landscape of our city. And at DWP, we recognize and value the immense contributions that Armenian Americans have made to our city, including many who are employees at DWP, and a number of folks have come today in this recognition. So, and for those who are interested to learn more about the Armenian genocide, there are websites, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and Armenian National Institute for more information. But we do want to take this moment to recognize this very important remembrance tomorrow and what it means to so many, not only of the communities we serve, but also the people here on our staff that do that service to the communities. So thank you. Did you want to add anything? No. Okay, thank you. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the reminder about tomorrow and Armenian Genocide Day also. You know, people often ask, you know, why we keep remembering, because people seem to forget. And there's a lot of that going on in the world these days, so it's more important than ever. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
We never know anymore. Families are very blended across our city. I have Armenian people just in my family who are the other grandmother. I'm one grandmother. The other grandmother is Armenian, so therefore my son-in-law is part Armenian, part Italian. I just think if we just try to practice respecting and enjoying everyone, we certainly want to remember something like the genocide, but we just need to all treat each other as though we were all family. It really would work out a lot better. And so that's a philosophy I have personally, not just because of the Armenian part of my family, but there are other blended too. And I would just suggest that you watch your words, treat everyone as you'd want to be treated, and then you will be in a better position, particularly here at DWP.
I want to thank the department for actually having programs for children and young adults when, you know, not always advertised. It probably should be better advertised at times. So it took me a while to realize that the 5-year-old would really enjoy watching people go up the pole, although he would have wanted to be the one climbing. So I just think it's wonderful, a wonderful set of programs, and you know, it's hard to keep up with all of them, but thank you for all of you who work really hard on it, because it pays off. I had a young server in the Arts District who had, you know, he had asked me, for some reason I knew something about this department, how he could get a job here, and he was in high school. So I, you know, gave him some advice, and I think he's up for a job this year. So that was a few years ago, so it's wonderful.
You know, and I just wanted to add very briefly, thank you for all of the background on everything we've been doing to celebrate Earth Day. The 22nd was also Navajo Nation Sovereignty Day, and we have a you know, a close relationship with our brothers and sisters on the Navajo Nation, you know, from whom we received power for more than 50 years before we divested from Navajo Generating Station, and with whom we still have an ongoing relationship through Light Up Navajo, which I was able to attend last fall. And so, you know, that day is a really powerful remembrance, you know, for them of their history and of their treaty relationship with the United States and their sovereignty. And so I just wanted to make sure that gets acknowledged too.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, thank you all. Thank you for the very appropriate comments. And Marty, thank you. And everyone in DWP. Well said, commissioners. And bit by bit, right? Bit by bit. Next item on the agenda. Mr. Pickle.
Fred Pickle, Executive Director, Office of Public Accountability, Ratepayer Advocate. We have 4 reports for you today. I think that's a record for the report count, but not for the page count. The first is on item L4, which we asked to be deferred, and it was deferred, so no further word on that now. The second is on item 12, which involves a consulting contract with Van S. Feldman. First and foremost in my mind is that this involves making a move without discussion away from a resolution that was subject to quite a bit of thought a couple of years ago about contracting with lawyers versus contracting for legal work, or contracting as lawyers as consultants versus legal work. And I think first that should be addressed and discussed. That may involve a closed session issue at a later meeting. Second, this talks at great length about allowing contracts, or DWP has a pattern of allowing contracts to allow liberal amendment with new subcontractors as well as new subcontractors without board review. And we think that's unnecessary and potentially hazardous to board members individually. None of the reasons the board might be given to be allowed to override supervision have been truly adequate in the past, and we recommend that the board maintain oversight. I can go into greater detail. You have our written report, but we should at least discuss this item, and we recommend that it be deferred. I will go into further detail if it isn't going to be deferred. We have had three lessons over time as to why the board should allow a form of contract that, or should avoid allowing a form of contract that allows DWP to amend the contract to add subcontractors and subcontractors. First, it has been said the identity of the contract would reveal the specific nature of a security issue being discussed at the time. This is contrary to federal defense standards, where even in federal defense issues, contractor names are not obscured. Second, it's been said the matter was urgent. That reason was used to obscure board oversight and commit a crime involving prior lawyers and contractors. Third, a variety of reasons have been provided to procure through SCAPA, an entity which can, but need not, appropriately prevent the board's informed consent. And finally, it's worth reflecting on other criminal padding of bills in DWP's not particularly distant past, wherein only the presence of hourly rates and time spent lobbying allowed successful federal prosecution of theft. Against this backdrop, and in the context of culture and history of retirees and other city personnel seeking payment that supplements their pensions, we believe this should be deferred.
Fred, while we're on the subject, talk a little bit more about the piece that is inconsistent with the federal law on. I'm concerned about that daisy train you described of a sub to a sub to a sub to a sub.
Yes, one, in multiple cases, the sub to a sub to a sub occurred in contracts related to IT in the overall parity PwC billing system. Most of my examples are for that. We were given the bum's rush on urgency again through the prior GM the prior GM now, insisting that it was security issues, it was national security, it was shouldn't be held up, and we were not allowed to see or review the contract in that case, and we were promised a board subcommittee review of that contract going forward. That board subcommittee never met. The other component is the consulting contract with Parity did have what we thought were reasonable consulting rates. We were not informed about the number of hours and the qualifications of those consultants until we were able to drag that out of them over a long, extended period. After, unfortunately, the FBI had arrived.
Chair, what specifically is Mr. Pickle wanting us to defer? Which matters?
Item
12.
12. Are we going to defer it or not?
Sure.
So, Fred, Dr. Pickle, is it fair to say that this is raising alarm bells for you because it seems to be setting up a set of circumstances under which we experienced a lot of malfeasance in the past related to the Paul Parity and?
Correct.
Okay, and so.
Just going ahead and ignoring a prior board resolution that was intended to address a lot of these issues without discussion would be under some interpretations of administrative law. And I'm not a lawyer, but I've seen a lot of administrative activities. The definition of malfeasance by the board.
Well, let me, okay, so let me just parse this so that I can make sure I'm fully understanding your input. So there's maybe the preeminent issue around the board passed a resolution related to how we engage with lawyers vis-a-vis lobbyists. That needs to be looked into.
It's the difference between legal work and essentially consulting work.
Correct. I mean, it's not uncommon for law firms in Washington, D.C. to do lobbying work. And there's usually sort of a Chinese wall up between those two sides of the business, but I understand your point. But then beyond that, in the scope of the contract itself, your concerns are around the way the contract is both written and how the contract has been procured. You said through SCAPA. I didn't see that in the board letter.
No, it was not. SCAPA is used as an example of
I understand.
The delegation
Yeah,
issues.
this was a fully procured contract that was.
Correct.
Okay.
And for past pattern, I understand, but I have not been able to verify that we've had lobbying-related consulting contracts with this firm in the past. And this is a well-respected firm, but I think my concern is first the approval process.
Okay.
And what's needed to protect the board.
Sure.
And second, just wanting to have more layers of disclosure for transparency reasons.
Yeah, the layers of disclosure specifically related to the ability within the contract to assign sub, without
and we
board
know
oversight.
It's important, given ethics rules, given tax rules.
Sure.
It's important to have that disclosed.
I do think it's worth saying that in this case, my understanding of the urgency in the power systems request isn't, just a red herring to get us to push something through that gives them too much flexibility. We do have some serious urgency around a need for federal lobbying support in order to capture federal dollars around some of our major LA 100 work. But we shouldn't use that as an excuse to push something forward that isn't fully
vetted, and we're able to address prior issues and changing our policy or accepting our policy with regard to prior board resolutions.
Thank you for the clarification.
Marty?
Thank you. We've spoken to the RPA about, these concerns and done our own work. To just address them, first of all, the board resolution that was passed before was not about lobbying. It was about a lawyer who did work for us lawyering and then we created a company that also worked for us. And so it had nothing to do with the lobbying contract. This lobbying contract was bid competitively. We did receive only one bid. We are hoping to add additional federal lobbyists. We used to have as many as 3 that went to 2 and now has only gone to 1. But they did bid competitively and have represented us well in the past. And we are at a critical juncture, particularly with the $3 billion of bonds or grants that Simon has just filed for the power system, that we have representation to answer questions and help shepherd those efforts through. In terms of contracting, occasionally, because Van S. Feldman is is one of the largest law firms in the world as well. Legal will use their legal services in certain aspects unrelated, both in terms of people and subject matter, to the lobbying work that they do for us, which was the issue of the board resolution that someone should not be doing the same work both as your lawyer and as the company doing the work. There is a separation there. We have full reporting to the board of the efforts that they do for lobbying to ensure that the board sees that transparency. No subs are allowed unless we approve those subs first, which should always be reported to the board. So that provision has always been in the contract.
Who's we approving the subs?
The contract administrator and the group, our legislative affairs group, and they will report to the board on any subcontracting that's used. But the fear that insider is going to get hired and nobody will know about it just doesn't exist. And so this is an important contract for us. We could defer this. It'll put us at risk of having no representation. Actually, even the whole city of LA would then have no representation in DC at this moment. And so we need to keep this alive. We will get additional lobbying firms, but I believe the point's well taken about making sure that we do not have a conflict with the resolution the prior board had passed following the Paul Parody events. But we worked with the city attorney's office. They do not see that being an issue here or a conflict existing here. And we plan to be regularly reporting to the board and make sure that the board is satisfied that that's true as well.
The part that maybe you can address, because I'm concerned about, is if there was supposed to be changes taking place by a subgroup, according to Dr. Pickle, but that never happened. That would indicate that we haven't plugged that hole yet.
And I think the minimum plug for that hole is amending the resolution requiring very clear and specific reporting on that. But there are a number of other suggested amendments as well. I think it's worth it for the board for its own protection, either political as well as legal, to defer at least 2 weeks to plug some of these holes in supporting resolutions.
Julie, can we ask you, I mean, has the city attorney's office, really looked into this conflict issue for us? Is it best to discuss that in closed session?
It's best to have that discussion offline. I mean, what I can say is that the board passed a resolution, and the board has control over how it passes future resolutions. And simply having a question about how consistent this is with the past resolution is something that this board can address.
Understood.
And do you see that, Marty, if I can
Yes.
direct it to you, do you see our being, so to speak, offline with this contract for 2 weeks, having some major impact in our Washington dealings?
We're concerned about if this contract doesn't go through. We are in the midst right now where questions are coming to us, and questions are coming looking for answers as part of the federal funding and other grants that have been out there that we've applied to. So any weeks that we're not present and don't have some boots on the ground in DC to be able to answer questions and shepherd this is a risk for us.
How long?
Do you want to elaborate on that?
How long have we had a contract with them?
They have been, well, as long as I've been involved with any of the representation. So I don't know how many years that would be, but probably at least 10. Originally, we had a contract with Denton's and a group that became Blue Water, Hal Furman.
When is this contract over? The current contract?
There are two pieces of the contract. The water part is continuing. The power part has expired now. So this is
There's a gap.
Yeah. Water part continues. Paul Habib, come up. He knows all the answers. I'll let him give you real answers instead of me guessing.
Hi, Paul.
This is Paul Habib, our Director of Legislative Affairs.
I appreciate that. A lot of good questions. The current contractor has been in place since 2011. Just so we know, the contract itself expired April 15th. We had to submit for a lot of DOE grants on April 17th. So immediately when we submitted, we no longer had a contract. Once the board takes a position here, we do have to wait another 2 weeks for the city council to see if they want to take additional action. So there's a lag time right now where we wouldn't have services for quite a few weeks when we're having this critical time for funding that could go towards the power system. They do a lot of services for us. There's our understanding, we obviously work with our contract administrators. They do this contracting process that ratepayer advocates is initiating to. They have a standard contract. Within the contract, all subcontractors must be approved in writing. They have to vet them to us, and we have to approve it. We've committed that we would go ahead and notify the board anytime there was likelihood of a new consultant being added. Same thing for any employees. They give a list of all employees that work there. So if there's a concern about a previous city employee, we have a listing of everyone there already. And if they had to propose a new one, we would submit to the board if that's what you'd like. Hey, they're requesting these folks. It's not been an issue in the past. We already have it written into the contract in Section 5, both for subconsulting and for employees, the reporting and prior approval and authorization by DWP as those type of safeguards. But the urgency of this contract can't be understated. It was deferred last time 2 weeks, which now puts us without a contractor because it expired in the meantime. It was supposed to be the April 9th board agenda. Right now, we don't have a federal consultant, and it's not specifically for legislation. They help us with the Department of Energy, EPA, Department of Interior, all of those connections where the department needs information, needs to be able to educate to make sure that we can advocate for our strong positions on behalf of the power system in this particular contract. It is one of the essential contracts. It runs for about 5 years. And the fact that we don't have one now is very problematic. It seems like, oh, it's only 2 weeks, but that would be another month without that type of representation. And I don't want to leave the power system without that type of service sign.
So with
There are 3 additional applications that we're submitting on May 22nd. Typically, we work with our federal lobbyist and preparing and reviewing those applications. Those are coming in about 4 weeks. So.
And we're fully committed to report regularly to the board. Right now, they report to us on a monthly basis of all the work that they and their subconsultants do. We've also asked to add a 6-month biannual review that would be vetted by the city attorney to make sure that there isn't a conflict of interest. We don't believe that there should be. There hasn't been in the past. As I said, this company's been in place even after this resolution was passed, and no one found a conflict when this was passed. So we don't believe there is one moving forward. But we're all, we believe in transparency and reporting it. We can do this on a regular basis to make sure that this contract moves forward. I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Great.
So I don't know if this is a question for Julie, Paul, or Marty. Is it possible to approve this today with the amendments that address OPA's requirements here? Are there any recommendations from OPA that we feel we could not incorporate in an approval that was for an amended contract? Are there any of these recommendations that would
Quite
be
a number.
problematic?
I'm talking about the report, but I'm not sure all the amendments being asked. It does request that we report to the CLA. That is not part of the charter. The charter requires that intergovernmental affairs goes to the mayor's office. So there are a few things in there that are not accurate. We do, in having consulting for the department, work directly with the mayor's office to make sure that there are a lot of meetings take place so we gather information and understand the positions the department needs to take.
Let me explain that. We know that the mayor's office is obligated in that process, but official positions of the city have to be approved by the council. So including the CLA was to make sure the council was looped in.
So
in the process.
That's assuming we're taking a position. We already do that under the council resolution authority. We don't advocate for a position unless we go to the city council and get a mayor's concurrence. But we do set up a lot of meetings where we gather information and where we educate our legislators and officials and agencies on the department's needs. That occurs all the time, and that doesn't require concurrence from the CLA. That is part of our functions.
I don't think that's what they were talking about. That's not my understanding.
It basically said every time we meet with someone, we need to report to the CLA. So that was my concern when I saw that.
Well, the part of the problem is in the state, within the state administrative aspects of the state have caught on that when you're speaking to an individual who doesn't arrive with a specific approval of the council and mayor, you can ignore them. And at the federal level, they're not exposed to us enough to caught on that the difference between an individual entity within the city approaching them versus an official city position. So that's why looping the CLA in is in there.
Okay, but if I read your recommendations correctly, Fred, it's saying that the notice is required when it is concerning legislation and that it's the topic of the meeting. And it sounds like these meetings are not meetings concerning specific legislation.
Right.
And that you know that if it were, that you would need city council or city legislative approval.
Yeah, the distinction is we do meet with folks to understand more about things that may be proposed, different legislation in that manner all the time. We get information gathering, educating what we as a department do. But in order for us to advocate and take a position and support or oppose, it requires a council position. And then we go through that process and we get that. And only then do we actually then advocate. But the consulting and information gathering happens all the time.
So Fred, does that distinction make sense to you between DWP taking a position on behalf of the city versus just discussing and learning from the legislators about legislation? Is that something that we could come to an agreement on here as, you know, amending this to really be about when the city is taking a position, not just any meeting that legislation is talked about in any way?
One of our first guidelines from the charter process was transparency. And we think that's an important transparency component. In addition, I think a lot of this discussion can be addressed by changes in the resolution that we could manage today.
That's what I'm hoping
So
for.
so it isn't just oral statement, we commit. It's the resolution says we will. That's not a change in the contract. And so that's the first step. Our other concern is to make sure there's a real discussion about changing the prior resolution policy or thoughtfully allowing an exception. I think there has to be a considered exception, and maybe there can be a resolution line that we come back to that particular component, perhaps by discussions in the next 2 weeks or in a closed session, but that would allow the contract to go ahead if there's a commitment to have that thoughtful process on the exception, and do that through not one but two additions to the resolution.
I think it's perfectly fine to, again, commit that we are going to report any potential contractors or consultants or employees. I don't think it's fair to limit the power system to what they can and cannot discuss and advocate. I think that we need to be nimble in order to address the department's needs. And I think that's the whole point of having a consultant on the ground. I don't think that trying to vet and pre-approve those discussions, there is absolutely a set process already that we have to respect legally if we're going to take an advocacy position. But the department always gets great benefit from having these discussions on multiple levels to understand ahead of time things that potentially are negative or opportunities. And that's essential. The other thing this grant does this time is it provides grant writing services for the first time directly for power. In the past, we didn't have that ability, so they bring in an actual consultant, to Simon's point, so we can go after more of these dollars that are out there. So I don't disagree that we want to be transparent on reporting on all of your concerns about subcontracting and employees. But in how we operate, I do think that there's a disconnect on what you think, how it operates, and really how we do. It is important that we have the latitude to discuss issues and educate on the behalf of the department. That's the reason why this is such a vital contract.
Understood. Fred, can you specifically lay out, if we were to move forward with the contract today, what the exact recommended changes to the board approval resolution that you're suggesting at this stage?
A be it resolved clause that specifically requires disclosure of subcontractor and subcontractor ad infinitum additions or changes, and
Hold on. Pause with that.
and the names of the individuals involved.
Okay. Paul, Marty, you have no issue with that. It sounds like that's already
It's already
even in the
required in the contract, so we just require
Okay.
for us to
And
report
we
to the
would
board.
absolutely make that clear to the board so there's transparency, which is your point, that the board doesn't
Hold
see
on,
it.
one at a time, for starters.
Okay.
What I'm going to suggest is Fred, and with Julie's help, and one of you guys, probably Ensemble, whoever's appropriate from power.
Simon.
That's what I thought I said, but I might not have said it that way. Anyhow, take a couple minutes, go out in the hallway, cover your heads, whatever you want to do, and work out the language and come back here in about 10 minutes with it, please.
That sounds like a good
Because
idea.
otherwise, the other option, for all you who are dying to have something passed today, is that I'll amend this down to a one-year contract, and we'll go with that, so you're not left uncovered. But I'd rather resolve the whole thing now and not have to revisit this till I'm off the commission.
The 1 year doesn't make sense if we can't, if they can't resolve it today. I would certainly go with that, even though it would overlap our terms.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking out for us, what I'm trying to do here. So why don't...
It sounds resolvable, I think, from what I'm hearing from everyone. So let's take a
So
moment.
why don't you guys go draft something and bring it back to us?
Do we, there are management reports, which I would love to hear, but while those management reports are ongoing, we can work on it in that time and then come back to this. And then I have comments on 2 more items.
Okay. Well, let's get this done.
Okay.
We could have done 2 more items plus the rest of the agenda since we started this. But get Julie's help, and you guys come up with the language. It shouldn't be that hard, I don't think. Since I'm willing to go with whatever Julie recommends us to start.
So
Does that process work? I see you about to say something.
No, that does. And Ben has worked with OPA's office and staff, so he has a head start on what we can do to propose to the board to amend the resolution.
Great.
Thank you.
So do you want us, we have 2 more reports to comment on, and the comments will be much briefer.
You promise?
It'd be hard not to be, but, but no, Fred, I do want your comments on them. Which are the other 2 items?
Item 12. Excuse me, we're on 12.
That was 12.
Important item 18 and 14, the Petrelli contract.
What?
14 and 18.
Which one is it?
Oh, okay.
14.
14 and 18. And the answer on 14 is that we agree with approving this item.
Okay.
We want, however, DWP to report back on the number of trouble or fix-it tickets. And Simon's nodding his head, so.
Okay. So that amendment will be put into 14?
In 14, and then 18, we recommend the board work together with the city to develop an incentive compensation plan for DWP's top layer of executives first, and then move that down through the organization over time. It is, as my report can explain in detail, for a utility of DWP's size, it is inappropriate not to have that. And then, last but not least, we believe the general manager's salary resolution is reasonable.
So to be clear, that's not a recommendation that we amend item 18. It's just that we do some work in the future with the city on incentive compensation. Thank you.
And that'd be for starting at the top and working its way throughout the organization.
Ideally, I think that would be good, but I think it's good to get experience with the executive level type plan and move down. And one in the report that's attached to our report, it's clear that public utility incentive plans have too many items and they don't help coalesce the organization. They like private plans that have 4 to 6 items that are common throughout the organization. So keep it simple, and it's not often that you hear a ratepayer advocate say spend more money.
And we appreciate, and also especially appreciate the reasonable. conclusion on the package for the new GM.
It is a required part of our enabling ordinance to report to you on the reasonableness of certain actions.
Got it. Thank you. People are drafting somewhere, I hope.
They're about to be.
Right in front of you.
All right. Fred, I think they're waiting for you, maybe.
Okay, so Ben, Paul, and Fred are going together?
Yeah. Either come back with language or don't come back. What more can be said about this item? All right, where are we now? Ratepayer advocate we got.
I think management reports.
No, I think we.
Or were we going to pull items and?
Yeah,
The presentations, I mean, not the report.
No, first we'll pull items to see what's special and pass the rest.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly right. The L4 we deferred.
Yes, thank you.
Deferred?
On L4.
Yes.
Deferred.
Yeah. On L11, Ms. Pinder is voting.
Recusing myself on that.
Has recused herself on that. L12. We defer L12, or is that what we're working on?
That's what
That's the one that's.
That's one right now.
That's right.
Okay. L13. Special permit meeting.
Just discuss it before we vote on this.
Okay. Why don't you tell us what you want to discuss now?
Yeah, I'd like the management presentation on it and a chance to ask questions before we vote on it.
Okay. Hold on that. L14, Dr. Pickle, but I think he just told us what he.
Yes, yeah.
And, okay, and then 16 is deferred?
Yes.
Okay, and 18, Dr. Pickle already talked on. And you're recused on 19.
I am recused on 19.
Okay,
Mr. McGraw is recused on 19.
so that ends up being called special too.
Sorry?
Yes.
Okay, so then can I have a motion to approve one
You can
items?
move to approve.
What's that?
You can actually move
I
to
mean,
approve.
I move to approve, thank you. Items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 17, and 18.
Actually, but 11 minus Pinder.
Well, I think we have to call it special, and we'll do it later, right? For the recusals? Yeah, the recusals come later.
Yeah. You guys make this much more complicated than it needs to be.
Just for fun. Okay,
We
what's
okay
that?
with 14 now also?
I think 14 also is special because we have to add the language, right? Or no?
Yes.
Yeah, so those will come in the next section. Okay, so once again, items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 17, and 18. We need a second.
Seconded.
Would you like me to call the roll? Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
President KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
Vice President McGraw?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
We're back to.
Do we have anything to
Now we
close?
have the presentations.
We have some reports.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Are you ready for those then? Okay.
Yeah.
So our first report will be the presentation of the LA 100 Equity Strategies Update. And so I'll turn it over to Simon.
Correct. Commissioners, this is a topic that's profoundly important to power system, including an entire department. This presentation will be divided into 3 parts. We have invited the representatives from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory and UCLA. These are the 2 agencies that conducted the study to give us background information. That would be followed with an update on the implementation of the equity strategies by power system. And at the end, our senior manager, assistant general manager, Greg Reed, will provide his synopsis from the DEI office. We have Dr. Megan Day from the NREL, Dr. Stephanie Pinsenthal from UCLA, and we have Dennis Obiang, who's the Director of System Planning for Power System. Welcome, Megan. Yeah, thank you.
Okay to go ahead? Yep. Good morning. Megan Day with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Let's see if this works. It does. Thanks for having us. We're here to give you an update on the LA100 Equity Strategies project. And we knew from LA100 that 100% clean energy is possible. We spent the last 2 years looking at how we could move forward with a more equitable clean energy transition and strategies to do so. It was guided by community members from the beginning, and that included a steering committee of 14 community-based organizations, as well as listening sessions with more than 100 of their constituents. So these are folks who were compensated for their time and sharing their expertise, and they shared their barriers to and strategies for equity strategies moving forward. So the areas that we identified that surfaced through that community engagement was first and foremost affordability. We've heard some affordability issues. We don't want to get anyone hit with a cane for that. So affordability and the burden of energy bills, access to and use of technologies, programs, and infrastructure, health, safety, and community resilience, jobs and workforce development, and inclusive community involvement. On that community involvement piece, we did hear some mistrust and grievances, people feeling like they haven't been heard when they've shared concerns and ideas in the past. Strategies include a collaborative platform for ongoing engagement, which looks like it is being implemented in the extension of the steering committee, as well as co-developing programs and services with community leaders and organizations, and providing tailored outreach, education, and job training. We took a look at what is the baseline for the utility in terms of who is benefiting from clean energy investments and programs. And we found that unless programs were specifically targeted towards low-income community members, that the solar efficiency and electric vehicle rebates and incentives disproportionately benefited predominantly non-disadvantaged, mostly white, non-Hispanic, home-owning, and higher-income households. So we took a look at 6 different areas of where there could be equity strategies to make improvements on that baseline. And the first, of course, is bill affordability. We modeled energy bills through 2035 based on this transition. And we found that continuing the current rate structure as well as the solar net metering compensation will increase electricity bills 50% more for low-income customers compared to average customers. So strategies there may involve rate reform and shifting from solar net metering to solar net billing, or more of a wholesale or avoided cost compensation for solar adopters. Those require regulatory reform. Something that may not is an on-bill tariff, also called pay-as-you-save approach, where the utility invests in efficiency measures and recoups that investment over time with an on-bill rider. That is an on-bill tariff, and we found heat pump water heaters and enhanced insulation could provide immediate bill savings for low-income households who benefit from those efficiency upgrades. We also found robust bill assistance programs will certainly help, and that is above and beyond what is currently offered. On the solar side, we looked at both rooftop and shared solar approaches. We found that the existing shared solar program does require a premium to enroll to allow bill savings over time, and that the participation in the current program is higher among non-disadvantaged, non-Hispanic, and wealthier households. So strategies there include a low-income discount program for the shared solar program. We found that a 20% discount for low-income households could save $480 a year for those households on average. And that also for the same investment, a shared solar approach with that discount program could have 5 times more capacity installed compared to a direct rooftop install approach. And it could also deliver that bill savings, again, affordability, to multifamily renter and low-income households. We looked at housing weatherization and resilience and what would indoor temperatures look like over time. We found that there's a surprising number of households who either do not have or do not use air conditioning because it is too expensive. And so 230,000 of those low-income households will experience more than 2 months of dangerous indoor temperatures by 2035. And so strategies there include direct install of heat pump cooling, which has lower operating costs, higher upfront costs, and that would provide safety and comfort, especially for those households in multifamily buildings, which have much higher exposure to those dangerous indoor temperatures. On the household transportation electrification side, we looked at EV adoption. We mapped it out across the city through 2035. And we found that there is, with this increased incentive for the used EV rebate, which is already being implemented, I believe, for low-income households, that the majority of EV adopters by 2035 will actually be low and moderate income households. However, many of them will lack home charging access, where 80% of charging occurs. And so at and near home EV charging will help alleviate that barrier to adoption. We also heard a strong interest in e-bike programs, and we found shared EV and e-bike programs can help reduce transportation costs and time for transportation disadvantaged households. We looked at truck electrification for improved air quality and health, found that heavy-duty trucks have a really outsized impact on air pollution and the associated health impacts in the community, and that electrifying those trucks would have a disproportionate benefit to disadvantaged communities who experience more exposure to that air pollution. So accelerating LADWP's heavy-duty truck fleet electrification, as well as the charging infrastructure to support it, will have a very beneficial impact on air quality and health. And finally, grid resilience and upgrades. We modeled the distribution grid and found that disadvantaged communities experience more grid stress, and that grid stress will disproportionately increase for those disadvantaged communities over time. And so equity in grid infrastructure investments, and we have data to help support that consideration and support metrics, and upsizing transformer capacity during upgrades and replacement will help provide more equitable access to clean energy. Thanks.
All of the subtext here in terms of NREL's official capacities. That's great. Thank you very much, Megan. I'm Stephanie Pinsel. I'm at the Institute of the Environment and Sustainability at UCLA. I am the director of the California Center for Sustainable Communities, and it's my great delight to be able to present the work that we did in conjunction with NREL in a number of the chapters for the LA 100 equity strategies. As a former planning commissioner for LA County, I'm in full sympathy with all of these kinds of questions that you all debated. So thank you for your diligence and attention to the ratepayers' health and welfare of LA County, city. Okay, so we were brought in a bit after NREL had started its study to join with NREL and to do some specific work on the equity strategies, and we will be continuing with LADWP, the Luskin Center for Innovation, and my center on community engagement and technical analysis. We build from 10 years and more of collaboration with LADWP, including the UCLA Energy Atlas that my center produces. The Luskin Center did some very important preliminary work on the feed-in tariff for LA, as well as work on the potential solar workforce going forward with electrification. We worked on these 5 chapters. As I said, a number of these were done in conjunction with NREL, and you'll see some parallel recommendations here, and I will go through them very briefly. Energy Affordability and Policy Solutions chapter, we, as NREL did, found that Propositions 26 and 218, as well as the city charter, obstruct certain rate affordability measures, some of which are recommended by NREL and make a lot of sense and are statewide policies with the IOUs, but are very difficult for LEDWP under current conditions to implement. We found that supporting low-income households will have very minor utility revenues effects. That is something that has been debated within LEDWP and with us. It's something that needs more empirical investigation, but we think that it'll have minor revenue effects. LEDWP's pandemic-era shutoff moratorium for low-income customers was really important to reduce inequity during that period, important to think about going forward. Enhancing existing discount programs is crucial, as NREL points out as well. Increasing enrollments is very important, and strengthening the benefits in the long term, of course, will be an equity strategy. Indoor thermal comfort, as NREL just discussed, is an essential affordability objective that requires policy action and tracking, but also care in not creating unintended consequences, because buildings that need cooling generally are very poor thermally performing. And so you could actually create a less affordable situation for residents if those buildings continue to be very leaky and bills go up with cooling. Small ethnic-owned businesses is a sector that may need more attention by LEDWP. 1 and 3rd EOBs are energy burdened. Over 50% of them have felt climate change in high heat exposures, and nearly half of them expect future negative impacts. Small EOBs have unique needs to transition to 100% renewable, like energy efficiency upgrades and electric equipment that may be targeted specifically at those kinds of businesses, payment programs to fund upgrades, and importantly, and this should not be too hard, educational materials in multiple languages was found to be lacking. For air quality and public health, many of the findings echo NREL, since they were done conjunctively, that vehicle electrification provides greater health benefits than initially estimated, particularly for the city's Latinx population. But electrifying medium and heavy-duty trucks will bring more health benefits than a focus on light-duty vehicles. A harder lift, but certainly very important to keep in mind. ZEV adoption reduces PM and NOx, but may also lead to temporary increases in ozone, particularly over disadvantaged communities, which is also something to be taken into consideration. Green jobs and workforce development, Latinx and African American workers make up the largest share of LEDWP employees living in disadvantaged communities, but they are more concentrated in lower wage occupations and activities, and we know that that's a target of LEDWP today in trying to improve that situation. Overall, green jobs are growing at a rapid pace and creating multiplier growth in non-green jobs, which is a very hopeful trend, not only for LA County, but of course for LA City. Electric service panel upgrades. This was a very interesting study that was done on the basis of looking at all the permits that were pulled for the city of Los Angeles in terms of upgrades for buildings. We found that electric service panels in disadvantaged communities may need to be upgraded to support the addition of new electric appliances or the installation of distributed energy resources. So you can see in the red and orange, properties with lower capacity panels, they correspond to disadvantaged communities and also communities that have more apartments, older buildings, whereas the green and blue properties have higher capacity panels, more ready for electrification. So what we recommend as strategies is, first of all, collecting data on these panels. as meter readers go out, if they have access to the service panels, they should record the service panel rating. And that way it'll be an additional data point for LEDWP going forward in its electrification efforts. Strategies to address low capacity panels include piloting the retrofit of these service panels at older multifamily properties, for example, with the camera program. Tracking of the cost and the difficulty of that change ought to be integrated into the program, so we have a sense of what that means for the city going forward. Also, piloting low power demand electric appliances in multifamily rental units. So if you want to put in an electric stove, there are more low powered ones. So you may not need the service panel upgrade. And we should be looking also at other appliances, including heat pumps and so on, that are more low power. And that will really mitigate the need for increasing the panel sizes, which obviously could be expensive and difficult. And also piloting new smart panel hardware within the panels could be part of the camera program, for example. See how it works. So our next steps at UCLA, just wanted to leave you with this, are supporting the equity-centered and LA 100 equity strategies work going forward, including the strategic long-term resource plan, the SLTRP process, the power systems equity strategies action plan. We'll be commenting and working with that team. The UCLA Energy Atlas will include expanded equity metrics, also inwardly facing, so that the utility can track at the parcel level what is going on in terms of the investments. And eventually, with LADWP's assent and working together, we may have a publicly facing tool too, so that the public can see LADWP's progress in equity distribution of programs. And finally, we will be facilitating the Equity Strategies Advisory Committee to co-develop the implementation of the study's findings. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dennis Obiang, Director of System Planning. Following the completion of the study, I worked with NREL and UCLA all this process, so we're very intimate about the study. The key part of we want to do for power system is how are we going to implement the findings of the study. It's one thing to complete the study, it's another thing to implement the findings of the study while sustaining engagement with the community. So DWP has not been sitting idle, but we've been thinking about this, and we have specific action that I want to share with you all today. First, we recognize that the strategic long-term resource plan is truly a roadmap for DWP for clean energy transition. One approach that we took is to integrate the steering committee from energy equity to be part of the plan so that they get to provide their input and voice to be heard so that they understand the type of technology, type of resource we're going to adopt for a clean energy transition. In addition, integrating equity strategy steering committee into the SLTRP process truly demonstrates DWP commitment to continue engagement and also the seriousness of ensuring that our community benefit from this transition through positive equity outcomes. Now, one thing that I want to alert the board is that as part of the implementation, as a director of system planning, the question that comes to mind is that how are we going to operationalize the implementation of this equity measure? So we believe that to do that, DWP as a power system, as a unit of DWP, along with the team, we have to understand how do we develop equity review process. The first thing we have to establish is developing criteria for evaluating all our program, both project and policies. The purpose of this effort is to ensure that the program that we have are deemed equitable. In addition to that, we also have to ensure that future projects not related to program are also reviewed through this equity evaluation process. And that takes a few months to develop, and we will talk about the timeline towards the end. But once we develop the criteria, we also have to monitor those, to monitor to what extent the program are effective. We also have to develop metrics that ensure that we can measure the effectiveness of those programs. We also have to be flexible In the event that the program do not materialize with the intent that we designed the program to be, we need to be able to pivot and change course. But all of this work has to be done in a way that is transparent to maintain DDP commitment to procedural justice, which refer to engaging with the community and explaining to them what we're doing. Showing on this slide is our series of programs and policies and initiatives that DDP is currently implementing. Those programs and policy are aimed at integrating equity principle around the subject of affordability, access to program, access to job, and also clean air. So I'm not going to go through all of it. So we refer all of this program as equity by powered by equity. So for example, earlier you heard from the team that we noticed from constituents that they do not have access to EV charging because they live in multifamily homes, and those that live in residential home cannot afford the electric panel that is required to integrate electric vehicle at home. When you take those population in totality, that's a huge portion of our customers that are trapped and don't have access to EV infrastructure. Part of the program you see here is DDP to address this. We will have what we call electric vehicle hub to ensure that those communities also have access and they participate to the electrification process. We also have EV rebate for used EV car for those that can afford, the one to afford up to $4,000. We have EV charger rebate up to $1,500. More importantly, we also have developed a new program called Cool LA. That program is intended to help our most vulnerable customers, the elderly, that are oftentimes exposed to extreme heat wave and they don't have access to cooling. Again, consistent with the study. I'm not going to go through all of them, but these are what we call a Power by Equity initiative. We hope to expand those and continue to add to it. To your right, you will see a bunch of checks. Those checks reflect those equity principles that I mentioned earlier. This is what DDP did internally, but this program and all of those initiatives will have to go back and review through metrics to measure their effectiveness as we continue to roll out equity strategy throughout the city. Now, what about the implementation timeline and milestone? A lot of work has to be done. The study is done, great, but now we need to go to action implementation. So we have convened with staff in Power System to develop, along with UCLA Assistant, to develop what we call equity criteria. Those equity criteria will enable staff to review all the project and program we have now and future project. We hope by July we will begin the process of engaging with our steering committee, equity strategy steering committee, and by October we will come back to the board with all the input and output from those engagement and present to you all what equity criteria implementation look like. Following that, analysis, we will begin the process of analyzing and reviewing existing program to ensure that they are deemed equitable based on the criteria we just developed before. And then from January, from that point on, 2025, we will continue on an equity development. One thing I want to add is that this is not a one-time show. This is a continuous journey. And this is a paradigm shift for Power System, one that requires that we incorporate equity into all aspects of our planning and also operation. Next step, we will continue to give board update. I think the next 6 months, we will come back and show you what equity criteria looks like to get your support. And after that, we will go back to the drawing board and begin the review process of all our program and then inform our public what those programs look like. Now I'm going to pass it on to Greg Reid to continue the discussion.
Thank you so much, Dennis, and thank you, Megan, and thank you, Stephanie, for your background presentation of the research that's been done and our continuation of the equity strategies and to the implementation phase. So with that, if I could have help with the slide advancements. If you could go to the next slide. So the role of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office is to provide assistance to the Power System in the implementation of equity strategies. So number one, we're engaging the Equity Strategies Advisory Committee and facilitating their participation in the go forward. Our office also has responsibility for the Equity Metrics Data Initiative. And with that, we are also providing implementation support, public awareness, and agency collaboration. Please, next slide. So this is a part of uplifting the tenets of a just and clean, equitable transition. That includes recognition justice, procedural justice, and distributional justice, and principally on procedural justice to make sure that we have intentional inclusivity and collaboration with the communities on our clean energy program. Next slide, please. As was mentioned, we have 14 community-based organizations who participated in the 2-year study process. They remain engaged in our go-forward process through the implementation phase. We also have added the IBEW Local 18 who participated on the study but were not a member of this particular advisory group. So now we also have Local 18 as a part, recognizing their important role in our workforce development, job opportunity, as well as the overall delivery of clean energy for the city. The study itself, as our researchers shared, covered a wide range of topics: community involvement, transparency and accountability, our clean energy access, and allowing for communities to really benefit from all the clean energy technology that we're developing, as well as our strategic plan for transforming the city's clean energy system. So there are a range of topics that we will continue to work with the steering committee on. And this next slide kind of shows the timeline where we are today and how that dovetails with the SLTRP process. So in the top area, you see the SLTRP schedule. We're currently within the first series of workshops to plan out the modeling effort for our resource portfolio. And the Equity Strategies Committee has been engaged in that process. Our office is facilitating deeper engagements around the SLTRP process to make sure that the Equity Strategies Committee has additional space to express their views, ask questions of our planning staff, and to really bring forward concerns and preferences to be incorporated into the SLTRP planning efforts. I'm sorry, before we move to the next slide. In addition to that, we are also working with the Equity Strategies Committee on that detailed body of work that I just showed on the previous slide. So the variety of areas of interest will take place starting in June in a standing bi-monthly meeting process where we will prioritize the effort in connection with UCLA as our facilitators and to have working group sessions to really deep dive into the various programs, policies, and projects that need to have a greater emphasis on outcomes of equity for our communities who may be under-resourced and underserved. The other component of our responsibility in the next slide is our Equity Metrics Data Initiative. And this really started back in August 2016, I believe under the leadership of the board and Commissioner Funderburk, who initiated the EMDI, focusing on 4 categories: infrastructure, customer incentive programs, procurement, and employment, and established 15 metrics that are reported to the board on a periodic basis. Subsequent to that, the board also initiated a working group, I believe under Commissioner Susana Reyes' leadership, to engage the community and expand and revise the Equity Metrics Data Initiative to a broader set of recommendations that have been developed. I believe it was 50 metrics that were identified. Since that time, we have conducted the Equity Strategy Study over the last 2-year period. We've engaged the Equity Strategies Committee, and what we're looking to do now is to bring forward that 50 equity metrics and to continue the refinement with the Equity Strategies input and bring that back to our board for final review and consideration. So we hope to have that work within the next 6 to 12 months for your review. Moving to our next slide. So our other responsibility will be to engage the various city and county agencies that also have overlap and intersection with our equity work around building decarbonization, fleet electrification. I believe earlier our board president had recognized the importance of DWP's work to Metro in electrifying its fleet. And so that's an example of the overlap and collaboration between our agencies. And our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office will help to facilitate the Equity Strategies Committee engagement in that process. Lastly, I'll say that we also will be raising public awareness around equity strategies and the various programs and offerings that we are promoting. And so in partnership with our community-based organizations, we will be hosting various community listening sessions, town halls, and listening tours with our communities to bring them in and to raise the awareness of the work that we're doing. So with that, I believe that's on my last slide, and we can open up for discussion. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me just say briefly, if I may, and I don't mean to disparage anyone. I certainly believe in research, but we knew going in most of what you were going to find coming out. Now, I wrote EQUITY for myself here, equity. To me, the E stands for everyone. Stop talking, stop charting, stop making slides. That's the first thing. Everyone, get busy. Q for me is quickly. We don't need to keep revisiting this. Everyone knows that if you don't have money and you are underserved and you are blah, 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 and there's all pollution, we quickly need to do something. So that's the Q for equity. U is the uniform, united action. We just need to do it. You put all those seals up there and all the people we have to work. We don't have to convince those people. They already know that. The I for me is integration, initiative, and innovation. You've said those. We are building 2 EV plants, one on the south end, one I think in the valley if I listened the last time. So we're, quote, doing that. The T then of equity stands for timely. Life is made up of time. That's all it's made up of, time. So timely, time is money, time is action, time is life. So get busy. I don't think we need to have monthly updates, yearly updates. In a year, somebody should come back and say, this is what's been done. I mean, we really have to move on this. Equity is a sweet, nice word, but you have to have it doing things. And this is a wonderful presentation. I'm dating myself, but some of these concepts were discussed as far back as the war on poverty. Oh, yeah. Okay? The war on poverty was discussing these same issues, the same quality, the same, whether the water was pure, whether there was pollution from trucks. And that's how many years? I mean, that's in the 60s, if I'm correct. And we are still talking about it. Now, everyone knows DWP does and can do a lot, but just throwing around the word equity won't get it done. It's all the oars in the water getting it done. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate this presentation, but you know, I just don't know where we want to go with it. I mean, what buy-in? Everybody wants their community to have fresh air. Everybody wants this. So what buy-in do we have to do? I don't quite understand that. So that's my position.
Much for this declaration because it makes so much sense. I'm only taking a little moment because I do have to, I wasn't supposed to be here today, but I am, and I'm glad I am here, and I'm sorry I'm going to miss the other presentation. I think what I would say, just knowing some of these folks, that they just want to basically have plans and funding to get it done. Mm-hmm. You know, DWP has to be able to dedicate the right funding to get the projects done, to meet some of the obvious needs that exist. So I just think that's basically, you know, maybe what you're saying is, yes, we probably, you know, that we just need to get going. And I don't think anybody would object to that. Mm-hmm. We just got to get this process going. And by the way, I wish I had time to get as passionate as you did about how to move forward, to say that I actually, I'm always worried about shade. And we do not mention trees anywhere in the plan that I can see. Or are trees a part of the planning process here?
I think part of the equity process, the study we did with the community, we only focus on area the community wants us to focus on, which was affordability, access to programs, and also making sure that job creation are part of it.
Yes.
But we it's something we can certainly add to the plan and discuss with the community where to see how we can use this.
Hopefully.
I think in a word, the answer is yes. We do have a coalition who have expressed concern about urban heat and wanting to see the use of shade trees integrated into the equity projects that we're doing. And so we have to, take a look at that and how we can facilitate that in the context of ratepayer investments. Correct. But absolutely, the community is interested in urban heat and combating that.
Yes, of course.
Yes. You can go ahead.
As part of the draft budget sent to council in the meeting of March 26th, we added a report requesting that the board ask the council to send some of the nearly $1 billion a year that the DWP sends down the hill back as tax money to start inflation adjusting the credits for low income rates. It would take $1.5 million per year, incremented at the rate of $1.5 million per year, for 20 years to catch up for inflation adjustments that have not occurred since 2008 because of the Proposition 26.
Since what year, Fred?
2008.
2008.
So the low-income rates haven't changed. We're asking that the city, DWP board, ask the city to send some of that money back. $1.5 million this year, $1.5 million times 2 next year, so on down over a 20-year period. If we were really being hard-nosed, we'd say go back to 2020, go 16 years back to 2028, 16 times 1.5, and start incrementing from there. This would make a 3% dent in what DWP sends down the hill in terms of utility users tax, transfer, bills by other agencies and to us for services or other city entities, and late payment on or deferred payment on bills by city entities for power and water. That is under the OPA report on the 26th of March. So it's to many of your points, Commissioner Pinder. It's about equity and it's about timeliness. We've been talking about this for 16 years. It's time. This is a small amount of money in the scheme of things, and we can't get off the dime to inflation adjust that.
Mm-hmm.
Other comments?
George, did you want to? I'll just say, I think you've heard already from board members today, there's been a lot of transition since the last time this project was presented, but I think you can hear clearly that the commitment to equity remains as strong with this new board as previously. I think, Commissioner Pinder's comments echo the frustration of communities who have known of these problems and talked of these problems for a long time. But I do want to commend this project because I do believe that the stakeholder engagement approach that has been taken does go beyond just checking a box and saying, oh, we talked to people, but really engaging people in the development of solutions and having the solutions be developed by the community. And that is a change from what we've seen for decades and decades. And so I'm glad to hear the commitment to make sure that continues and that communities are not just okay, now, we did the report, now we move on without you. So I'm encouraged to hear of the integration of the steering committee into the SLTRP, as well as, continued separate meetings with that group, knowing how huge the SLTRP stakeholder group is. Also encouraged to hear of the development of concrete metrics and performance so that we can track this, and then equity isn't just a word, then it really is something that we are managing the same way that we are managing other performance factors within DWP. So some encouraging work here. I definitely echo Commissioner Pinder's urgency in all of this, and I look forward to the future reports of implementation progress. Thank you.
Anyone else?
And to Commissioner KATZ's point, may I offer a quarterly progress report as a filed item to the board?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we certainly will do that.
Yeah, and appreciated the more detailed briefing that I received from your team, and happy to engage anytime on this. This is really critical work, and we want to ensure that it moves forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before we move on, we have a report from the working group of 3. Marty, on that, or you don't want to jump in this, do you?
No, I didn't know if you want to do the next presentation or not. If you want to go.
From Fred and Ben.
No,
that's quite fine.
I want to see if we got something back.
They tell me they're resolved.
They want to tell the rest of us now?
Yes.
Thank you.
With the able mediation of the city attorney, we have a resolution, or actually resolution in several parts.
Great. Well, shall we do that when we get
Somebody
to that
want to
item?
explain
Or
it,
do we
guys,
want
before,
Dr. Pickle, do you want to describe the amendments?
Well, I'm happy to, I do what Commissioner KATZ recommended, which is wait to call
Maybe
12.
when we are on item 12, then they can walk us through it, if that's all right, now that we know that they've come up with
we're on
some-
item 12.
Well, we still have one more presentation and then have to call the items.
I just asked them to come up and
Okay.
brief us on what we're doing.
All
We're on
right.
item 12.
Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to amend the resolution, and then we have 3 different amendments that will address the various points that were raised in the.
So you're going to suggest that we amend the resolution?
Correct. So what we'll do is
To do what?
So we'll have.
Then sit at the microphone.
Yeah, here, I'll sit down and just read them all. Okay. So the first one would be to address resolution number 022097. And we would propose the following language would be added to the resolution. It would say, notwithstanding resolution number 022097, and whether it applies or not to this contract, the board desires to hire Van Ness Feldman because it believes it has good cause to hire them, because Van Ness Feldman's services are necessary to assist LADWP with input during the legislative process to protect and further LADWP's ability to provide services to its customers, and any delay in that contract could meaningfully damage LADWP's interests. So that would be to address that resolution. The second thing we would propose to add, would be that the board has not waived any conflicts of interest. And that was to address, I believe, number 2 in their agenda or their list. And then the final thing we would propose to add would be, quote, that any change to sub-consultants at any level or consultants or consultant personnel, or any amendment to the contract itself will be provided to the board within 30 days of LADWP approval. And that would address 4, 5, and 6.
But that's an after the fact.
Yeah.
It is after the fact, correct.
That's just visibility. We wouldn't sign off on any of those changes. Does that address your concerns, Dr. Pickle? I thought you wanted us to have more control over that process.
We're comfortable with transparency on this. And if there was a concern, I'm sure the board would revisit things.
Okay.
So you're okay with after the fact transparency?
I'm okay with after the fact, given how fast legislation can move,
Okay.
like overnight.
Could we ask, since we're not voting on this item yet, I know it's Earth Week, but could we maybe get at least one printed copy of this so that we can read it out loud during the approval and actually finalize the language?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm the person that's final language that you have, that everybody's agreed to.
It is, but I think
When we do the voting, we have to say the amendment, we vote on this as amended and.
Really?
Yes, so.
I didn't know that.
I'm just saying it might be helpful to have it to read out loud.
I could have sworn he just did that, too.
Okay, can we just reference what he read later during the approval process?
Is the board considering the motion right now? And, I mean, I think that's the resolution to be, the motion would be to approve the resolution as amended by the language Mr. Chapman has just read into the record.
Okay.
Right, which is being recorded and.
Yes.
Would you like a motion?
Yeah.
I move to approve item L12 as amended by the language Mr. Chapman has just shared.
All right, second.
We have a second. Anybody feel like discussing this? At your own risk, go ahead. I mean, no. Anybody feel, no? Okay, everybody understands what we're doing? We have a motion to second. Any objection to, actually, why don't you call the roll on it, please?
Commissioner NURIT KATZ?
Aye.
President Richard KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, she's absent. Vice President McGraw?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you. Item 12, thank you all for, thank you for the work on the drafting the language. Thank you for resolving it. What else, Shante, we have on this list of?
We need to go to G2, and then we can finish the all pulled items.
On G2 is what?
It's a management report for the green team.
If the board still wants to hear it at this meeting, we have a report from the green team.
Go for it.
So we have our folks here wearing their green team t-shirts.
And being patient. So
Yes.
thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for hanging in there with us.
I'll let you do your introductions and take it from there.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We're deep in it now.
Good morning, President KATZ, Commissioners, General Manager Mr. Adams, distinguished managers, and guests. My name is Sheila Washington. I'm a lead utility services specialist, and I work in corporate sustainability. My primary duties include the annual benchmarking of all DWP-owned properties over 7,500 square feet for compliance with the EBEW ordinance. But today, I'm here representing the Green Team Council. And with me today are my fellow Green Team Council members, Edna Chavez, Banji Paragas, and we also have Jessica Lewis in the stands today. Thank you. On behalf of the Green Team, I would like to thank Commissioner NURIT KATZ for the invitation today to speak with you in honor of Earth Day. Commissioner NURIT KATZ is familiar with the Green Team's activities, and she knows that the Green Team spearheads several national climate-related campaigns on behalf of the department, like Earth Day, Earth Hour, Clean Air Day. And so we are delighted to be here with you today to share how the Green Team is bringing awareness to sustainability, biodiversity, conservation, and pollinator projects all year long. So the picture that you see here is some of our members last year at our 10th year anniversary celebration. And I'll start with just a little bit of an overview. The Green Team was established 11 years ago this month by 4 employees. And they started the club to identify fellow sustainability enthusiasts within the organization. Their simple goal was to move the needle in favor of sustainability and climate-related matters. It's now 11 years later, and the club is still going strong. Today, our group is comprised of 250 employees from a variety of business units. We have a very diverse membership base. It includes directors, managers, field crews, customer service, power plant employees, engineers, and more. All employees are welcome to join this club. All you need is a willingness to learn and grow on climate-related issues that impact us all every day. We meet virtually once a month to hear presentations from subject matter experts, both internally and externally. The Green Team provides an opportunity for knowledge transfer among employees. We strive to share information with employees interested in growing and becoming more knowledgeable about the department, sustainability, biodiversity, and the utility industry in general. We believe that providing this information helps employees remain current with new developments in these areas. We also have very sophisticated customers, so it's important that our employees are equally knowledgeable on these topics. We have 5 guiding principles that we stand on. The first is we model green behavior internally. The second is we promote green behavior with other employees and customers. The third, we partner with organizations to promote green behavior. 4, we instill all new employees with a sense of responsibility for being green at work. And 5, we develop ties with different systems to incorporate environmental practices into the development of future business practices. We also have 3 primary goals. The first is to advance the organization's green culture and environmental sustainability through employee engagement. The second, we communicate, educate, and inspire conservation, efficiency, recycling, and waste reduction at the workplace and at home. And third, we champion LADWP's environmental achievements. The slide you see here provides 2 different definitions of sustainability. We have the general definition of sustainability. It's common and most are familiar. The next version is a more current definition that more accurately describes sustainability in society's major systems like environmental health, social equity, economies, resilient communities. And the biggest takeaway here is the last bit. The practice of sustainability recognizes how these issues are interconnected and requires a systems approach and an acknowledgement of complexity. The Green Team understands that everything we do in our daily lives and at work are interconnected to the larger systems. And if one person can cause change, then our employee club can certainly have a positive impact for the employees at the department, for our communities, for the Department of Water and Power, and for the environment and our resources. My fellow council members will provide more information about the projects we're involved with and how we are making an impact here at the department all year long. You'll hear about our pilot projects, volunteerism, employee engagement activities.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, Board of Water and Power Commissioners. I would like to take a moment and thank you for inviting the Green Team Council to present in today's meeting. My name is Edna Chavez. I am an environmental specialist with corporate sustainability programs, and parts of my daily duties include managing the department's zero waste program efforts, including the recycling and organics programs, completing our yearly Electric Power Research Institute benchmarking, as well as managing our partnerships with the energy sustainability interest groups and some community organizations. I'm proud here today to also be representing the Green Team as a Green Team Council member. So one of my primary roles as a Green Team member is maintaining and managing the JFB Aeroponic Garden that is located on the Level A patio, right outside the cafeteria here at the John Ferraro building. So these towers were donated by Sensible Sages in April of 2021, making LADWP one of the first city agencies, to have an aeroponic garden. Since their establishment, the Green Team has grown and donated over 1,500 pounds of produce to Food Cycle LA. This is bringing fresh organic produce to underserved communities. This 6-tower aeroponic garden is capable of growing 168 plants, which are 100% organic and free of pesticides and chemicals. The hydroponic feature allows us to garden with around 90% less water than the conventional garden setting, as the water and nutrients are housed in a reservoir base and are recirculated. During the spring and summer, we can harvest as frequently as every 3 weeks, while in the fall and winter, it takes around 4 to 5 weeks. We truly do love our garden and take every opportunity to share how great hydroponic towers can be. We have shared our harvest with LADWP employees at various employee events throughout the years, and these plants may be replanted, or you could just serve them up fresh. We're currently looking into starting a pilot program using recycled water for a few of our towers. We are interested to see if there are any noticeable differences between the two water sources, so there is more to come on this.
Thank you.
Our collaboration with LADWP Devonshire Pals, Council District 12, and EPRI has resulted in the incorporation of this 40-foot, almost 8-ton shipping container that houses an indoor pod farm. It is located at LAPD Devonshire Pals location.
Pod.
Pod. POD. The farm is capable of producing organic produce all year long, as it is not dependent on outdoor climate conditions. And the container is climate controlled. The Green Team provides support to our local communities. So our Green Team members are passionate individuals who enjoy volunteering and sharing their passion for sustainability. And just last year, we established our Green Team Zero Waste Task Force. This task force will assist the department in reaching our zero waste and organic landfill diversion goals. As we know, organic waste in landfills emits about 20% of the state's methane as it decomposes. Methane is a super pollutant, 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide. So in conjunction with communications and the Green Team Task Force, we were able to develop the signage that you see up in the screens in order to try and raise awareness for the new organics programs that we have. So as of 2023, we are looking at about a 10% increase from our baseline. As you could see, in 2019, we had about a 50% diversion rate. And in 2023, it has gone up 10%. So our Green Team Task Force will be a monumental contributor for the different pilot programs and trainings that will be needed to implement in the future in order for us to reach our 90% landfill diversion goal. The Green Team regularly brings opportunities for employees, for employee engagement and learning. And I would like to just highlight a few events that the Green Team has participated with in the past year. So on the top left, you will find a picture depicting the CSUN Autonomy Research Center for STEAM. During the visit, we learned about how NASA's sponsored program is connecting and inspiring students from all fields of study to engage in strategic planning, partnerships, and cost-effective research opportunities. Their goal is to develop advanced, trained, work-ready graduates who are a result of multidisciplinary research endeavors. The Green Team was able to find and build a line of communication with the CSUN program as a result of our visit. In August, we were invited to tour the nature gardens at the Natural History Museum, as you could see on the bottom right picture. And Commissioner LEHRER did leave early, but we did want to give her a huge thank you for organizing this event. So the gardens have replaced a parking lot and feature over 600 new plants, of which 70% are native. The garden provides and attracts essential habitat for insects, birds, and mammals. So we learned about the facility's watering needs and the thought that went into this project, from building a simple fence or even a wall. All of the features in this garden were chosen with nature in mind, like building a living wall. It not only looked beautiful, but it also provided wildlife with crevices and the environment to live in. Another cool feature highlighted was the perimeter fencing, which was designated to keep the site secure from trespassing, but still allowed wildlife to enter and exit the gardens. We all enjoyed this tour, and I myself was inspired to think outside the box when designing my home garden. The same month, the Green Team was invited to tour Athens Advanced Optic Material and Recovery Facility, as well as WM's Organic and Material Recovery Facility in Sun Valley. There we were able to answer our question, what happens to my recyclables after they're picked up from my bin? It also introduced us to what one company in the industry is currently doing to recover organics and prevent them from going into the landfill. We walked through different sections and witnessed hand sorting, as well as automated computer sorting through the use of optics. The Green Team has been spearheading the department's Clean Air Day for the last 6 years. So that picture is on the bottom left. And we had the largest number of exhibitors to date last year. We partner with our LADWP's electric transportation programs, our corporate environmental affairs department, as well as LA Sanitation and Environment, LA Conservation Corps, City Plants, Pacoima Beautiful, and Water Power Credit Union, which they organized an extensive electric vehicle showcase. The purpose of this event is to engage our employees and community by raising awareness to different actions that may result in better outdoor and indoor quality. City Plants gave away free shade trees. Not only does the addition of a tree improve the air quality, but also helps combat the heat island effect. Additionally, houseplants were given away to help improve indoor air quality in homes and offices. As a result, 538 LADWP employees decided to challenge themselves, and they did sign our California Clean Air Day pledge last year. They're pledging to take action or actions to clean the air. There's never a dull moment as a Green Team member. And now, here's my fellow Green Team Council member, Vanjie Pragas.
Thank you, Edna. Good afternoon, President KATZ, Vice President MCGRAW, Commissioners, General Manager Marty Adams, managers, fellow employees, and guests. My name is Vanjie Pragas. I'm an environmental specialist for corporate sustainability programs, where my primary duties are environmentally preferable product, biodiversity, and sustainability reporting. I am also a member of the Green Team Council. Before I begin, let me quote Dr. Martin Luther King. Life's most persistent question is, what are we doing for others? Originally founded by a small group of employees under the guiding principles of modeling and promoting green behavior, by partnering with different organizations, the Green Team takes pride in keeping these values alive through our volunteerism efforts, not only within LADWP, but through partnership and collaboration with local communities, schools, and other agencies. Please let me share our experience with our volunteerism efforts, past and present. Board Resolution Day. Last year, Green Team members participated in Board Resolution Day by giving away 168 harvests from our very own aeroponic garden tower at the JFB patio. These are a variety of lettuce, green mustard, kale, cilantro. We also did educational tour and a demonstration of the aeroponic towers. It was such a delight to see the happy faces in the children picking these vegetables, and also the curiosities in their eyes when they see the aeroponic garden tower for the first time. A BioBlitz event is a celebration of biodiversity. It is an event where volunteers find and identify as many species as possible in a specific area over a period of time. Last year, Green Team participated in the BioBlitz event at the Natural History Museum, while this year, we are very excited to host DWP's first BioBlitz event at the Hollywood Reservoir this coming summer. The Green Team also support the BioBlitz events of Los Angeles Public Library, the LA Sanitation, and the Rex and Parks, and we look forward to a more collaborative partnership with them this year. DWP's Adopt a School program began in 1984 and has grown to 26 schools. One of these schools is adopted by the Green Team. The Multnomah Street Elementary is an awardee of California Pivotal Practice, California Distinguished School, Title I Achievement, and a Magnet Achievement Award. Every year in March, Green Team participates in their Science Fair event and Career Day in April. Interaction with school-aged children provide Green Team members an opportunity to improve the scientific literacy of the students, particularly in topic of sustainability, help them become young environmental stewards, and provide positive impacts in their lives. In some of these events, it is their first time to meet a professional working in biodiversity, engineering, and sustainability. And we hope that this opportunity will influence them to guide them in their career choice in the future. The MLK Day is the only federal holiday designated as a National Day of Service, where we celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Members of the Green Team participated in a neighborhood cleanup in South Central near Crenshaw District. It was also an opportunity for Green Team members to foster strong connections within our local neighborhood and promote a healthier environment. And every year, Green Team partners with the Friends of Los Angeles River for LA River cleanup. Green Team members and their families volunteered to clean up and dispose of trash on a certain section of the river. On the picture that we have, we've collected over a dozen grocery shopping carts, a sofa, home appliance, laundry basket, and several bags full of trash. And lastly, the National Public Lands Day. It is a tri-utility Green Team event shared with SoCal Edison and SoCal Gas Company Green Teams in partnership with REI Cooperative. It was under the supervision of U.S. Forest Service and the National Forest Foundation, where Green Team members performed trail maintenance and cleanup near Mount Wilson Observatory. It was also a day to enjoy the sunshine, take a few hikes, breathe fresh air, and enjoy the beautiful trees surrounding Mount Wilson. Members came strong wearing their Green Team t-shirts. Through these volunteer efforts, Green Team members develop a personal sense of purpose, enhance our skills, achieve personal growth, build friendships, and find an opportunity to make a lasting contribution to our community. And in every event the Green Team participates in, we come strong wearing our Green Team t-shirts just like today. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'll give it to Sheila for final remarks.
Thank you, Vanjie. So in closing, the Green Team Council would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the Department of Water and Power's leadership, beginning with our Board of Commissioners. We look forward to working with each of you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you to our General Manager, Marty Adams, and who has been a tremendous supporter over the years. Thank you to all the directors, managers, supervisors who give presentations and go the extra mile to ensure employees are growing and engaged. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a few special thank yous. First to managers that have, definitely shown their support, like Evelyn Cortez Smith, Director of Water Engineering and Technical Services. P. Joy Chua, Manager, Assistant Director of Power Systems. Nermina Rusick, Power Engineering Manager. Aaron Gross, Interim CSO. Greg Reed, Director of DEI. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate you all presenting. This was a particularly long board meeting, a tough one to sit through, and I'm sure you'll probably get shorter comments from board members as a result. But I do just want to say we really appreciate, I've been impressed with the Green Team over the years, having met you in my other hat, 10 years ago and seen how this team has developed. It's a great example of cross-department and cross-unit collaboration at DWP. There's folks from water, from power, from joint, from everywhere, really building community and making sure that we walk the talk and we're doing what we recommend to, our customers do. So thank you for everything you do, especially all of these volunteer activities, taking a holiday and doing day of service and all that type of work. I know it matters to our communities, and we really appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking for all of us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Here.
Your support, we will.
Okay, we've got a couple of miscellaneous items hanging out here still, so let's get through that, and let me get my list back up.
So I think we had the
Go to
recusal one.
item 11, L11.
I think that's just a recusal from Wilma, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, she already did that. We did that. That's
Okay.
gone.
Motion to approve item 11?
One moment, please. I'm sorry.
Is she not quite out of the room yet? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you. A second?
Second.
All right, without objection, the three of us that are left are all done.
Okay.
It's a day of attrition. As I votes, that motion passes
3 ayes, motion adopted.
with one recusal.
Yes, and 1 recusal.
Okay. 13.
13 was my request. Yeah. Can we get a very brief management presentation on 13, please?
Item 13.
Thank you, Harold. Item 13. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try to be as efficient as I can. So hi, everyone. My name is Portia Bell, and I am the manager over the Transportation and Building Electrification team. Here with me is Jasmine Arceo, one of our subject matter experts with the Electric Transportation Programs team. So today our presentation will center around our electric transportation program, rebate program, sorry about that, and how our proposed resolution will help us expand those existing programs to meet our future targets. Okay, so just wanted to give a brief introduction on what my section is responsible for to kind of give you a full story of what we're doing. So we're actually comprised of 3 different teams, which are our EV service design team, our EV infrastructure team, and our electric transportation programs team. And together, we are leading the EV charging effort through what we have dubbed the EV programs. Now, what does that consist of? So first, obviously, we need to make sure that we have enough power infrastructure and charging available for our own fleet as they transition to zero-emission vehicles. Also, we're working with our city agencies to ensure that they have the power that they need, the EV charging that they need. If it's funding related, we're working with them on MOUs. And then if it's design related, we're actually offering assistance to get them to the stage where they're able to have a complete package to submit to our EV service design team. We're also strategizing with LA Metro, trying to make sure that, you know, if we can overlap on some of their zero emission bus incentives with the LA 28 Olympics, you know, doing some en-route charging, that's what we're trying to work towards. As you guys have all heard about, our LA Connect e-hubs, which will provide fast charging to those who can't charge at home or for those who just need that extra boost to get to their next destination. And then a new utility-ready program, which will kind of circumvent some of the customer comments and, for lack of a better word, complaints that we're getting. So this program that we're developing right now will help to offset some of the utility costs through credits that we'll provide through another rebate program. And again, we hope that that's going to come into fruition very soon. And lastly, what we're all here for, our EV and our EV charger rebate programs. So this is just a brief overview on what we'll be discussing. We'll discuss where we are today with our rebate programs. I'll give a brief recap on the state and LADWP electrification goals. We'll talk about what we've done with our rebate programs in regards to Powered by Equity. We'll show some actual installations versus our previous and revised targets. And then lastly, we'll go into our electric transportation program funding proposal. So where are we today? So as you guys know, we provide rebates for used EV purchases as well as EV charger installations. As of today, for our used EV rebate program, we're offering up to $4,000. For our residential level 2 charger installations, we're offering up to $1,500. And then on our commercial side, for our level 2 light duty EV chargers, we're offering up to $5,000. And then for our light duty DC fast chargers, up to $100,000, and then $125,000 for our medium and heavy duty EV chargers. So since 2019, there has been a lot of regulatory drivers and targets that have progressed electric transportation, including Governor Newsom's executive order and our CARB regulations, which are all in an effort to transition us away from gas-powered car sales and towards zero-emission vehicles by 2035. In 2023, the CEC set its targets with a goal of 450 chargers installed by 2025, with an ultimate goal of 1.2 million chargers installed by 2030. So LADWP has aligned their goals with the state's goals taking a perspective that we are 10% of the service territory. So we're doing 45,000 chargers by 2025 and 120,000 chargers by 2030. Now, this is all to incentivize Angelenos to adopt more electric vehicles and, of course, help us to our targets that you see at the bottom here of the slide. But while we're on this slide, I want to address two additional items here. So the targets that I've mentioned today, as far as for our state goals and our LADWP goals, you might not see that communicated in our IRP. There's a reason for that. So at the time that we actually published our IRP and submitted it to the CEC, they had not finalized their third edition of their requirements and qualifications. So we were actually allowed to submit based on their second generation requirements, and that's what we did. But as we move forward towards our next updates and revisions and submittals, they'll definitely include the revised targets. But I also want to make sure that we all understand that although they're not in the IRP, we're still working and aligning with the state's targets, and we're moving forward with the electrification. Another thing that I want to highlight here is for our medium and heavy duty targets here at the bottom. So currently, based with our rebate programs, we have actually supported the MTA's Orange Line with their overhead pentagram system. We offered them about 6 rebates for 6 of their chargers. We supported the LAWA with chargers related to their 60-foot buses. We rebated them for about 11. We're working with LAUSD to finalize some of the requirements and conditions in the MOU that we'll have with them between LAUSD and LADWP. And they have also reserved some rebates and submitted 2 applications as we move forward with them to electrify their buses. All right, so since 2019 as well, and as a result of our LA 100 equity strategies, we have actually made some progress with our rebates. So for our Easy Save and Lifeline customers, which translates into our low-income senior citizen and disabled customers, we're actually offering an additional $2,500 for used EV purchases. We're offering an additional $500 for residential EV chargers installed. And then on our commercial side, if any chargers installed in a DAC community or a disadvantaged community, we're offering an additional $1,000 on top of the base payment. So also from the LA 100 strategies, we're looking into new program developments around multifamily residents. I think you guys heard a couple of those comments earlier today where either people can't install chargers or the owners can't install chargers. So we're just trying to make sure that we have some type of program that centers toward multifamily developments. We're listening to community feedback. There's a lot of customers that I meet with on a weekly basis that have a lot of comments. You heard a few during public comment, and we are listening and we are strategizing on what can we do to help them move forward and again speed up the process and streamline. We are also looking to develop new programs around our power infrastructure upgrades, and that'll kind of align with what I talked about earlier as far as our new utility ready program. And this is all to stimulate more participation as we work towards making those historical costs lower. Okay, so this slide here is very important. So this is the reason why we are increasing our targets and asking for more funding. When the board approved the $40 million cap back in 2019, we were striving for the blue line here. Those were our existing targets. But as you can see from the green area behind it, which is our total chargers installed, we exceeded those targets more than 2 years ahead of schedule. So what do you do when you exceed your targets early? You make more ambitious and higher targets, which is displayed here by our red line. So I think the most important thing to take from here is that we're not trying to just get to our 2025 goals and declare mission accomplished. You know, the work will continue to grow and our incentives will continue to grow, our customer needs will continue to grow, and that is the purpose of our proposed resolution today, is to ask for the cap to be removed from our funding so that we can continue to meet those targets. Another item I want to bring up while we're on this slide is what have we done to increase or make better our process improvements on the processing timelines of our rebates. So we have done quite a few process improvements, including since 2022, we have cut down our timeline by 24% since 2023 by 9%. Over the past month, we were able to add additional resources, which they are in training right now, so that's going to also help speed up the process. Since 2019, we have also started an online submission for applications for our customers, again, streamlining processes to cut down data entry from our processors. We have approved ACH payments. Now customers don't have to wait for their checks in the mail. And then our processing team is also in the process of putting together an RFP contract to get a software that will improve communications between the customers and ourselves. This will simplify and streamline the processing tasks that they already have. So all of these things together with my EV service design team, we're all working together to see where can we cut the timelines, where can we cut some of these items that the customers are getting hung up on. So just to bring everybody up to speed on what was previously approved by the board back in 2019. So the existing resolution approved up to $40 million per year as long as the low carbon fuel standard credits and the carbon credit allowances were available. What we're asking for today is to build off of that funding and authorize an additional amount that was budgeted for that fiscal year through our annual budgeting process. And the board will subsequently be able to revise that budget each year as it already does through the annual budgeting process. So this is my last slide, but I wanted to put into context a visualization of our 100% approved annual budget versus the authorized rebate funding. So the green bar here shows the $40 million that is capped just for the programs. The blue that you see here is our approved 100% budget that was that's approved through our annual budget process. And the yellow represents future budgets, which have not been approved yet, but are anticipated to keep the EV programs at this accelerated pace and put us well on our way to 2030. So again, our new proposed resolution would allow the rebate program to use up to all of the approved annual budget. And again, the board will have the opportunity to review that budget and revise it as it sees fit. So that was my last slide. Are there any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Portia. I have a couple questions on that last slide. So my understanding is we'll essentially be removing this $40 million cap, allowing you all to use previously budgeted funds to take care of customers who are trying to subscribe to this system but haven't been able to access it because we have so much oversubscription that they're subject to a lottery system. Is that right?
That is correct.
And how quickly do you think, once we remove this cap, that we can clear that backlog?
If we had the cap removed, I can commit to having the backlog completed within 1 month.
Wow, okay, that's great. We had a public comment earlier today from Mr. Gold about rebate speed, and you talked about some of the sort of things we're addressing technically to improve the speed of reimbursement for these rebates, including additional software, some new personnel. Are we tracking our turnaround time on these rebates currently?
We currently are tracking it, actually, and that was where I kind of gave the difference in the percentages per year that we've actually been able to improve.
What is our average turnaround time for a rebate currently for, say, a residential customer?
Here it is. All right, for a residential customer, we're looking at about 51 days.
51 days.
From application to rebate payment.
Okay, and that's on average?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the longest amount of time someone's waiting currently?
I do not have that information right now, but I can get that for you later.
No problem. I'd be curious. I was, moved by that question around commercial viability, especially this idea that, we need to work within net 30, 60, 90 to really make. I mean, obviously, we haven't had any trouble with people wanting to subscribe to this program. We're so oversubscribed that we need to remove this cap, but I mean, anything we can do to make it easier for ratepayers to access our rebates, especially, in acknowledging some of the equity issues that LA 100 equity strategies and others brought up. I mean, the speed at which those rebates are paid back are going to be especially important in disadvantaged communities where money's much tighter and where that might make the difference between, a meal, prescription medication, things like that. Speaking of, I was going to ask you a question about LA 100 equity strategies and how it plays in here, but you already explained that pretty brilliantly. And I just wanted to point out that this is, I was also very moved by Commissioner Pinder's comments earlier about, now we just need to do it. And this is a very clear example of how we're doing it, taking that strategy and putting it into action. So congratulations. Finally, and just so I'm clear, we've been receiving some feedback from community-based organizations and environmental organizations like NRDC and others, about this perceived inadequacy in our IRP and SLTRP vis-a-vis the state's commitments to decarbonization. And so what I'm understanding from your presentation is that our IRP was submitted before the state, adopted these new higher standards.
That is correct.
And that we've been working, under our existing IRP toward more aggressive goals in line with the state's commitments. Now, we haven't resubmitted our IRP or our SLTRP because it's not due until the end of this year in that 5-year resubmission cycle.
That's correct.
Okay. So regardless of what our IRP or SLTRP says, which we're in the process of revising now with all of that stakeholder engagement, we are acting as if those higher or more stringent state standards were already basically within our plans.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Those are my questions. Anything from you all?
No. Do you want
Well, I am
to
the
stand in for acting chair and call a
the
vote?
acting president of this
Yeah.
commission. So may I have a motion to pass item number 13?
Motion to pass item 13, or to approve?
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner KATZ,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
and Commissioner Pinder.
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I think we can also do 14 and add the language from OPA.
So we'll move on now to recommendation of item L14. Actually, I don't think we need a presentation on item L14.
No.
Nope.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that we consider item L14 and include the recommendation from the OPA that the number of trouble tickets estimated in category 2B be remediated in the 12-month period, July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, to be specified by the GM before the board adopts the final budget for that fiscal year and in each subsequent year. Fred, do you want to talk about that anymore, or is that, I feel like we're clear on what that is asking for?
I don't know if we need to modify the res or just can take that as staff direction.
Yes. We do provide quarterly reports on the progress that we're making on fixed tickets.
Okay.
And we will provide a presentation to the board as well on the numbers and on our progress.
Yeah, I remember that we've been receiving that already. But this is not asking for that. This is specifically asking for remediation. But you're right. This isn't. We don't need to we don't need to change the language of the resolution so much as we.
Well, we would like to have that language or something equivalent in the reso.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay with the city attorney's office in terms of form and?
Well, I think the way it's written doesn't quite make sense to be added to the resolution because it specifies 1 year, but it's talking about making sure that it gets included in the final budget adoption for each subsequent year. So maybe it needs some tweaking unless I'm misunderstanding something.
I think the board could amend the resolution to add this paragraph that the Office of Public Accountability has proposed after the 7th paragraph of the current resolution. And I believe what the board is saying, what the ratepayer advocate is proposing is that this would be required this year and every year thereafter. And this is the resolution that would be referred back to.
But then, if the goal is to be specified in each year, I just think the language needs slight tweaking so that it's not each time we're remediating. Oh, well, I won't get picky on the language. We can approve it as a.
Go ahead.
Like me? I mean, if we're saying we're going to, we're saying the GM is going to specify how many trouble tickets, right? per year?
Can I just give a background?
Yeah.
So the entire distribution system is what we're talking about, and I think the ratepayer advocate has a point on the indicators, because Petrelli, this contract is for Petrelli contract to supplement our workforce. So there's a possibility that the crews from Petrelli can be shifted over to other jobs other than the tickets. So I think Mr. Pickle's comment will be better served if we have a much robust indicators that we're already providing to the board, and if there's anything else that we need to add to that indicators, that we could actually subdivide each indicator of who's actually performing those, if that's something that the board wants. But in general, it could be that one contractor could be doing all the one classified tickets versus another, and that doesn't tell us much.
My understanding, Fred, is you're just trying to make sure we get on the record about a goal.
Correct. And it's now, and the magic word is remediation. How are we going to fix this? How fast can we fix
We
it?
get these quarterly reports on how many outstanding tickets there are in each class, in each category, and you just want the GM in every budget cycle to tell us, for this budget cycle under 2B, how many are we trying to fix, so that we have an eye on a prize when we're awarding these contracts.
And all
That
I'm
makes sense to
suggesting
me.
is that we amend the language that it's not specific to just 1 year, because right now it says 2024 to 2025, and you're really talking about each year, so that it's, say, the 12-month period preceding the budget cycle or something like that, if that.
Yeah, we're big fans of down to zero, but
Okay.
yes.
Yes, I hope so too. May this be the only year where we have a backlog, but yeah. Okay. Sound good?
I don't see a need to change the language as written. I think it does its job.
The only thing I would propose is to add, be it further resolved, before the language that the.
Yeah, so we would add, be it further resolved, and place this between paragraph 7 and paragraph 8 of the existing resolution.
Okay.
You're back. You're in charge.
I'm gonna go again. No, it's going for fine. Okay, so we have the.
Did someone make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt item L14 as amended.
Okay, second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Second.
Great. And then George needs to recuse himself for this.
Oh,
That's right.
4 ayes on L14, motion adopted.
Thank you. Now we're on 19,
Yes.
minus George.
Okay, motion to approve item 19, resolution authorizing travel of Commissioner McGraw. Anybody second?
Sure, I'll second it. Any objection to all three members here being recorded as I vote on this travel?
Nope.
Okay, that's done.
Yeah, it's motion adopted.
Motion adopted.
1 recusal.
Okay.
Should I have him come back in? Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to find out
coming
where I
back.
am.
He's on his way back right now.
Okay, so we went through all those. Okay, what else did we have?
We've got J and K.
J and K. Okay. Minutes. We did the minutes earlier. We did? Yeah. The introduction of motions for future consideration.
None at this time.
I'm sorry, we
think
need
we
to do
skipped
the
the
minutes. We
minutes.
did
Yeah.
not take the minutes.
We did the minutes very, very beginning of the meeting.
Did we?
I don't think so.
I remember doing it, but if you want to do it again, just for fun. Without objection, I got a motion and a second on the minutes, again. But all members present being voted as aye, motion passes.
3 ayes,
The minutes
motion.
are no.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, Jay, there's nothing to add there. Now, neighborhood council reps,
No neighborhood council present.
okay. On my list, that's complete. Is that,
Yes, adjourn.
unless you always want to
To
hang
close
around
session.
and just talk about something else.
The board shall recess into closed session. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54957.1 of the California Government Code.
Verification that's been agreed to in the background on the Van S. Feldman, where it was clear that it was public disclosure in the a public report to the board on changes.
Right.
Do we need to formally amend that, or is that understood?
Report to the
It's a
board
public report.
Public record anyway.
I think it will be reflected in the amendments that were read.
During 12,
Yes. The board secretary and the city attorney's office will coordinate on that, and we'll run it by your office too, make sure.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we're heading into closed session because we haven't had enough time together today? You know.
Guess so. Should we give folks a small
5-minute
break? Up to you, Prez.
He entered a
Sure, take a 5-minute break.